Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Ambers. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Hey, a very good afternoon to you as we welcome you on into Rochester's only local sports talk show. It's the Sports Bar, Danger and Battaglia. We're glad you're with us. And we want to thank everybody that came out and saw us yesterday. We did the show live from Bill Gray's Tap Room, the Tap Room at Bill Gray's there, Chili Avenue. Some of our regulars who stopped by and spent their afternoon watching the men's tournament with us. Big thanks to all of them and, of course, our gracious host there at the Tap Room. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia.
Fun day yesterday, another fun day. And, again, thank you to everybody who came out yesterday. We hung out a little bit afterward and kind of watched the end of some, those early games here, Danger. And all right, here we are. 24.3 million brackets filled out at ESPN.com. We're down to 15,616 that are still perfect.
Well, so you're telling me there's a chance? How many times do I have to travel to the sun before I see a perfect bracket?
840 million. Your odds would be better of
I have to
doing
travel
all
to
that.
the sun 840 million times in order to see a perfect bracket. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, very good. But I love that they throw that out there just to kind of rub our noses in it. It's an impossibility. You might be a perfectionist. It'll never happen.
We'll keep you updated on the bracket. It's so funny how you get invested. Like, oh my gosh, Drake won last night. Why didn't I see that coming?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll talk a little Major League Baseball with our buddy from Jim Riley, our buddy from Ballcap Sports, Jim Riley, who stops by the sports bar this afternoon at 4:25.
So, yeah, the news this week, the season starting overseas, so we'll certainly touch on that. The Yankees, okay, everybody a little skittish about the Yankees in particular. Hey, you don't have Garrett Cole. Hey, for the first half of the season, you're not going to have Luis Hill. Do they have enough in that rotation? Maybe there's going to be a guy or two, Danger, we don't know about that will step up. Kind of get his preseason kind of outlook here. And it feels like every time we have Jim on, because baseball is in the situation, unlike any other sport, every other sport, it seems like, yeah, with the exception of the NHL, I guess, and the Coyotes, but they seem to have solved that, having moved that franchise. You have the Rays with no home after the season. Like, literally, there is no plan. So where do we go from here? We will talk to Jim Riley, Ballcap Sports, coming up in the 4 o'clock hour.
We'll also later on this hour check in with the Hall of Famer, the voice of the Rochester Americans. Don Stevens stops by the sports bar.
So one of the things I like about the American Hockey League schedule now, I'm sure Don would agree, is that they have greatly reduced the 3 games in 3 days. And that's not this weekend. 3 games in less than 72 hours for the Amerks. How do they slug this out? Charlotte is a good team. You go to Syracuse, rivalry game, certainly. And then you come back for the Bills Day game on Sunday. We will talk to the Hall of Famer, Don Stevens. It's been a minute since we talked to Don. He joins us at the bottom of this hour.
All right. The table is set and the phones are open for you. The Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. If you'd like to join us this afternoon at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub at 135 West Commercial Street in East Rochester. GoodsmokeBBQ.com. And we'll also have free tickets to give away to see the Black Keys coming to CMAC on Saturday, August 30th, courtesy of the Bowery Presents. Those tickets went on sale this morning at Ticketmaster.com starting at 10 a.m. You can win them for free from us before 6 o'clock here on The Fan.
Yeah, as you're really no Bills headlines. In fact, the guys on One Bills Live, Brownie and Tasker, talking mainly about the news of the day today in the NFL that, hey, it was time to have the sit-down. Apparently, Aaron Rodgers visiting with the Steelers brass, conflicting reports. Rossini says, don't be surprised if a deal is done. Jerry Dulac, who covers the team locally, says, not so fast. But I think, Danger, it is noteworthy that, okay, if Rodgers is going to go to Pittsburgh, this would be step number 1. You've got to have the face-to-face. You just can't do this over Zoom.
Right. And why I would say Rossini's report might be a little bit off base is because I feel like there's probably a lot of negotiating beyond just the number with Rodgers. how much do you actually need me here during the off season? How much do you actually need me here for training camp? Am I going to be able to still do the things that I want to do, need to do? Pat McAfee show, can I do all of these things? I think that's part of the baggage that comes with a guy that's been an MVP as long as he has, as many times as he has been, and has played for as many years as he has. And if you're the Steelers, do you make those concessions? How important is it?
Well, not only that, maybe the most important thing, what offense are they running? Are they running the Arthur Smith offense, or are they going to just bend it to the Aaron Rodgers offense, going back to his final days in Green Bay? Aaron did what the heck he wanted. Like, literally, it was kind of a basic offense, and you saw that a little bit with the Jets. So, I mean, is Aaron Rodgers willing to learn something new here at 41 years old? I think that's also part of it. Like, how much input will he have on this team? And Steel fans, it's going to happen, whether it happens this weekend or it happens in August. And I guess that's the question, Danger. I would think that if Aaron Rodgers was serious about winning, you want to be there with the guys. You want him to get bought in. It just seems like he misses that part of the job, that you have to look other men in the eye and they have to believe in you. I mean, did you get that sense that that was the case in the Jets locker room?
I feel like he was polarizing, and he is polarizing with his teammates, that if you're part of his clique, then everything's good. If you're Devontae Adams, if you're Alan Lazard, it's all good. What Rodgers did last year after the Bills' loss to Mike Williams, basically publicly throwing his wide receiver under the bus. Good luck with George Pickens and DK Metcalf. Like, I don't know that works in Pittsburgh. That's going to take some massaging by Mike Tomlin. And if it comes to fruition, if Rodgers does end up in Pittsburgh, how does that all work?
I'm going to say this, Danger, that Mike Tomlin, for all of his kind of faults, it's funny, Deanna came out yesterday, and she's just
sad Steeler fan.
Sad Steeler fan. And a Steeler fan is not delusional. I'll say that. Most of them are kind of upset. They want change. You're not going to get it in terms of the head coach and the front office structure. But, like, Tomlin, one thing he's good at is managing crazy. We really didn't know, like, when Antonio Brown was all about, and you could say, well, it was the concussion in the Bengal playoff game, whatever the case may be, whether it was Brown, whether it was Juju Smith-Schuster, whether it was Le'Veon Bell. Remember, they went through that whole thing. Ben Roethlisberger had opinions.
You can go back to Ben. You can go back to Santonio Holmes. I mean, he's dealt with a lot of different crazy. Deontay Johnson was on that roster. He's nuts. So he's done a good job of shielding the fans from the crazy that exists in that locker room. But this would be a new sort of challenge. What I'm struggling with the most is Aaron Rodgers working in an Arthur Smith offense. How does that work? Like, there's so many questions I have about how this all works for the Steelers, and I don't feel any sympathy. They're in this situation of their own accord. I mean, they drafted Kenny Pickett after Roethlisberger. It didn't work. Pickett's not there. They spent a year kicking the can down the road with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, neither of which are long-term solutions. And now you're doing it again with Aaron Rodgers, and I think you're kind of going to get what you get, which might not be a desired outcome for the Pittsburgh Steelers when it's all said and done. Plus, Rodgers is the kind of guy that if things go south, he's not going to look in the mirror and say, this is on me. He's going to start pointing fingers. And it could really be like, this could be the last year of Mike Tomlin if it goes poorly. Like, if Rodgers is vocal and he has an ear, ownership gives him an ear, and he's able to tell them of the dysfunction that might exist in that locker room, oh boy, you're really, really inviting a lot of trouble into your organization for one season, maybe two. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's also a known culture killer.
That being said, sign me up. Do it.
Yeah.
I want this.
Yeah.
I want to see it. And the networks want to see this too. And Steel fan, here's how it's going to go. There'll be a game or two. You're like, wow, this actually looks pretty good here. But in the end, where's it going to get you to? 8 wins? 9 wins?
Right.
The chase farting around for the 7th seed in the AFC playoffs.
Right.
And the right to play the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm giving the Buffalo Bills the 1 seed, Danger.
Okay.
Whatever it may be. This is the existence you lived in. Honestly, if you were being honest with yourself, who is going to be our next franchise quarterback? That's the best case scenario I'm presenting to you. Okay, the Steelers are not getting to the Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. So what are you doing? What are you doing?
You're kicking the can down the road
Yeah.
for another season.
Well, you could you could draft in the first round Jackson Dart, and Aaron Rodgers would serve as a mentor. There's no mentor.
He's not a mentor.
No.
He's not a mentor.
No.
That we know. So that's the biggest NFL story from today. Also, Brandon Cooks returning to the Saints, where he began his pro career free agent wide receiver, didn't stay in Dallas, ended up now back in New Orleans. And I also saw something interesting, which is, again, this is the changing landscape of collegiate athletics. Ron Rivera, former Commanders, former Panthers head coach, officially hired to be the GM of the football program at Cal.
Here's the part I'm confused about. Like a GM, isn't that all about raising dollars and pointing to the dollars? Like, do you really what pro personnel experience does Ron Rivera have? None. So why would he be qualified other than he was in the NFL?
He's the guy that's going to be in charge of raising money for the collective and then distributing said dollars amongst that's his new role. He's a fundraiser. He's the face of Cal football, basically. He becomes the face of Cal football. He's not the coach. He's the GM. He's the guy that's out there pressing the flesh and trying to get some money into the collective.
I never thought of Ron Rivera being this head coach that was kind of like a salesman. Like college basketball, that's all it is.
Yep.
Like Pitino and Calipari and these guys that have adjusted. Well, part of it is that this is who they are.
Yeah. I don't know how much of his role is recruiting talent. I think it's more about getting money and then letting the top talent come to you because you have the most money to give.
I mean, maybe because he did go to Cal. You do have that money there in the Silicon Valley. Can he just go sit down and somebody in a Fortune 500 company that could write a big check oh my gosh, Ron Rivera is here.
That's right.
So that's all this is.
Really, I think that's all it is. I think when you distill it down, he's just about getting that money for the program and then distributing it to the talent that he sees fit.
So 30 years from now, Sean McDermott is going to be the general manager of William & Mary football?
Sure.
Is that how it's going to work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody say it's his dream gig. He's always wanted to come back, just like Woj. Everybody, Woj, it's his dream gig. He took a 99% pay cut just to go back to his dream gig.
Let's call it for what it is, okay? Woj quit. He quit. He got tired of dealing with the 24/7, and that was an easy exit ramp. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying he quit. He quit his job. Many people quit their jobs. Didn't you ever quit your job? I quit a job. I was terrible at serving at TGI Fridays on West Ridge Road, and I quit. That was it.
I was a bad bus boy when I was 14 years old. I couldn't bus tables. I remember I bussed one time. It was Sunday brunch. Plates spilled everywhere, glasses broken everywhere, dropping crap. This is not for me. I am not good at this. I'm not equipped to do that. I have so much respect for the people that work in the service industry because I did it both as a dishwasher and as a busboy. No thanks. No, thank you. That was one that I up and quit. I just stopped going and collected my last paycheck, and that was that. But I needed to get another job, and that's when radio came in. But yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I think for Woj, yeah, it's romantic to say that it's his dream job, but the reality is most people wouldn't walk away from what he was making at ESPN, take that kind of a pay cut just to say, oh, now I can do this for St. Bonaventure. But that's the role that he is in. That's the role that Rivera finds himself in now as well at his alma mater. And Cal, the new GM of the Cal football program, former Panthers head coach Ron Rivera. and Commanders head coach Ron Rivera.
Memphis is up on Colorado State. That's a 5-12 matchup, 38-33. Duke up 13-2 on Mount St. Mary's.
Iowa State, the 3 seed, up on Lipscomb, 73-46. Some of these games have been a little bit one-sided. We've had some decent games here in the last 24 hours.
Alabama didn't cover. 90-81, they beat Robert Morris. So, the 2/15. Baylor in the 9-8 matchup. Baylor over Mississippi State, 75-72. So, right now, just the two finals in from earlier today.
Got a nice matchup tomorrow when you look at Arkansas and St. John's. Give me Pitino and Coach Cal.
2:40. That's the tip time in the afternoon.
Yeah.
2:40, and that is the 5th time they've gone head-to-head in the tournament. And it's funny, like the paths that they've crossed. Obviously, like Pitino was the head coach at Kentucky, and Cal for 2 years was at UMass, and one of them was actually in the Final Four. So, and then, vice versa, Cal is at Kentucky and Pitino at Louisville. So.
I was trying to remember all of the schools that Pitino has brought to the NCAA tournament.
I can do it.
Is there 5 or 6?
There are. Well, let me see. Let's count together.
6.
Let's count it together. Boston University. That's the tricky one.
That is the tricky.
That's
Boston, Providence,
Kentucky,
Louisville,
Iona, St. John's.
So 6.
6.
Yep. Okay. Boston was the tricky one. That's the one I would have tripped up on.
So that's where this week he was waxing nostalgic because back in the you had Pitino coaching against Calhoun. Calhoun was at some small school, and Pitino was at Boston University. And
okay.
Then they both go over to the Big East, and Calhoun, like as far as coaches that are kind of a-holes, he was.
Oh, there was a couple in the Big East.
Yeah.
One not too far from us either. Yeah, so that isn't surprising. Yeah, so you mentioned Alabama. Robert Morris keeping it kind of close, but Alabama advances. They wait the winner of St. Mary's Vanderbilt, and I believe you're into St. Mary's on this one. You think St. Mary's will?
PJ sold me on St. Mary's because they play this slow, boring rope-a-dopes type of style, and like Alabama, I don't know if they're for real or not, but I think that I've got St. Mary's winning tonight.
All right, very good. We'll keep you updated on the scores from around the tournament here as we got plenty of action this afternoon into this early evening as we conclude here the round of 64 and look ahead to tomorrow's action getting underway, the round of 32.
Danger, just a quick question because I realize now everybody, if I say the word hockey, don't click away, but I just have a question for anybody. What would be your favorite Sabre moment? Was it when the GM was talking about palm trees in Texas and moaning how we can't get things done, but we have conversations? Or you could vote here if we're putting this to the poll. The time your team's leader on offense gets laid out and everybody just kind of stood around like, oh.
Yeah, that was fun.
Oh, that was fun.
Uh-huh.
Or maybe it was last night.
Yeah.
And granted, I didn't watch this because I'm watching basketball and I turn it off, but the game in Utah. You saw this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, this feels like another low point this season for the Sabres. And there's been a couple, you mentioned them. But an own goal, just sloppy. Lack of awareness, and it's off the stick of Thompson, between Thompson and Dahlin, who are two of your better, if not your best players, miscommunicating. And when you I didn't watch. I'm like you. I did not. I was watching the tournament last night. But when I saw the clip and I heard both Razor and Dunleavy kind of like more angry about it than anybody. Like, what are we doing? Touch the puck.
So this is the situation. Buffalo is down 3-2. Okay, it's late in the game. What do you always do? Oh gosh, we got to get a goal. Pull the goaltender. Pull the goalie. And the puck is in the Utah end. Arm goes up into the air, and the Sabres have the puck. Aha! Penalty coming up on Utah. So you got a power play, and if you got the time is wasted passing the puck around, and that's when you mention Dunleavy and Razor saying, "Give it to him. It'll blow the play dead, and then you go on
the puck. Save the time.
Save the time. Go on the power play." And as they're screaming that. Like Thompson throws, I don't know if it's a blind pass. I don't know if Dahlin was indicating he was going to go to a certain spot. But Thompson essentially throws it down the ice where there's a wide open net.
Banks off the boards into the open net. Goal, goal Utah. I watched it and I watched it again. And I think I watched the replay of it at least a dozen times with this in my head just to make it entertaining. It's one of the sadder hockey plays I've ever seen.
You told this to me off air. It's not like it was Jacob Bryson sending it over to Isak Rosén. These are your two supposed best players.
I was like, when I was watching the replay, I would try to figure out who it was. I'm like, tell me it's like a lesser tiered guy on this team that you could punish or penalize for being such an idiot. No, it's your two best players that miscommunicated. I don't know where to start, man. I really don't. I guess I don't start. I just stop. I stopped caring at palm trees and taxes.
You know, why should we care when they don't care?
Yeah.
What is it that makes you think ownership and management actually care about this? I get the sense they're all looking at the calendar saying, 3 more weeks to go, and then we're on the beach. The players and Lindy or whoever. Do you think Lindy's got to be like, get me out of here.
What did I sign up for?
What am I doing?
Yeah. Well, one thing we can say, the Amherst are not the Sabres. The Amherst feel, we like to keep them independent of the parent club. We like to kind of keep ourselves isolated in this Rochester bubble.
Keep that stink over there.
Yeah. The bad juju, the bad vibes. We want it. We want all the wins here in Rochester. We'll take them. We got a good matchup tonight at the Blue Cross Arena against Charlotte. The first of 3 games in 3 days for the Rochester Americans coming up this weekend.
Also, Sunday Bills Day. Please, please, please spare me the we're not Buffalo. Why are we doing this? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Let's get a little preview from the Hall of Famer, Don Stevens, voice of the Amherst, stopping by the sports bar to share some thoughts with us next on The Fan.
You're listening to The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. Ian Perloff on 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan Rochester. When you wake up through the Odyssey app and make your mornings as thrilling as a game-winning touchdown. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Hockey night tonight in Rochester. The Charlotte Checkers coming back to town. Head coach Mike Leone on the opponents.
I think they average 36 shots a game. They give up 22. They check really well, and they're big. We have to be probably better on special teams against that team. They're number one on the penalty kill. They're 3 in the league on power play. But we also have to do a good job of playing with the level of physicality to get to the net from.
We'll talk to the Hall of Famer Don Stevens. He joins us next year in the Sports Bar. 3 finals already from the NCAA tournament. No upsets. Alabama over Robert Morris, 90-81. It was Iowa State over Lipscomb, 82-55. Baylor knocking off Mississippi State by 3 points. Game in progress. Duke up big on Mount St. Mary's by 15 there in the first. Memphis in the second, leading Colorado State 47-45. 15 minutes to go. Gene Battaglia, the Fan Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Amherst hockey this weekend on the Fan. 3 games in 3 days, all getting underway tonight at Blue Cross Arena. The Charlotte Checkers, the opponent, as you just heard, head coach Mike Leone and Gene's update. Talking about the opponent, we welcome in the Hall of Famer, voice of the Rochester Americans. You'll hear him tonight, Don Stevens, joining us in the Sports Bar. Don, it's good to have you on with us. How you been adjusting this season, calling a few less games and hitting the road a little less often?
You know, I really miss those long bus trips.
Yeah?
Yeah. Okay, he said sarcastically.
Yeah.
No, I'll tell you what, it's helped from the wear and tear of a long season, especially the bus rides. I'm doing all the home games and I'm doing half the road games, so it's helped me quite a bit. I feel good and energetic and enjoying what's going on.
Yeah, it's great to have Andrew alongside. You guys, great pair, and it's been a fun season so far. Don, one of those long bus rides, you were up in Laval a couple weekends ago. What was that atmosphere like? I'm looking ahead to the postseason thinking, okay, that could be a likely opponent for the Rochester Americans. Is Laval the toughest venue to play in the AHL these days?
I don't know about the toughest, but it's I really like it. That's perhaps my favorite spot. The atmosphere is great. It's a sellout every game. All the way to the rafters, and it's over 10,000 people are there, and they get into the game, and so I enjoy it there. As far as the players are concerned, I think that really spurs them on too, gives them a little oomph with the crowd noise and that. So I don't know that it's the toughest place. There's probably some tougher places to play, places you really don't want to be, I guess. But Laval is one where everybody enjoys going to, I think.
Amherst looking to build some momentum after a win over Providence a week ago tonight. Before that, Don, a 5-game winless streak for the Amherst. What would you point to as the reasons here that the puck just wasn't bouncing their way during that 5-game stretch?
Well, there were some things going on. First of all, it's a young team, and so they're still finding their way around the league and figuring out how to play this game professionally. So that's one thing. But what was happening in the last few games, remember all 5 of those were 1-goal games. And we had 3 players on recall to the Sabres just shortly before, for example, playing in Laval just hours before. Players were plucked and sent out on the road trip with the Sabres. So all 3 of those games being 1-goal games, the recalls included our 2 leading scorers. And I really feel like if we had those 2 guys, we probably could have won those games, at least half of them. So I think that was a huge difference. And it just seems like every once in a while the team was doing so great and motoring along, all of a sudden you stub your toe. And it takes a couple of games to get over it and get back on track, which hopefully the Amherst did last game.
Yeah, a team with a full week off, which, Don, I don't know if whenever you get a chance to say that in the month of March. So we're expecting good things here tonight. Charlotte back in town. We're talking to the voice of the Rochester Americans, Don Stevens. He'll be on the call tonight, 7 o'clock. You've been around a lot of head coaches, obviously. Mike Leone, we talk to him every week, Don. I'll just ask the question. Your opinion, your impressions of the new head coach of the Amherst.
Well, first of all, personally, he's a great individual. I'm really enjoying him, like I did his predecessor, Coach Appert. They're kind of from the same mold, and they're both just great people to be around. Mike Leone, his first year as coach, I think he's doing it right. He hasn't come in and started pounding his fist and demanding and stomping his feet and that. He's come in wanting to learn the job and relying a whole lot on his assistants, Vinny Prospel and Nathan Page, and the other people. He asks questions, he listens. So I'm impressed with him that way also. And the team, obviously, we've been up in first place. Right now it's, fourth place, I think, but only just a few points out of first place in the league. So obviously he's doing something right, and I've been impressed with him so far.
Don Stevens, voice of the Amerks, joining us in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Fan Rochester. 3 games in 3 days. You'll hear all the action on your proud home of Rochester Americans hockey. Now, you have the stretch this weekend, and there aren't as many of these 3 games in 3 days stretches on the AHL schedule, but you have not only this weekend, but also next weekend, 3 games in 3 days. Don, you've been through this AHL schedule for years and years and years. What's a key for any team that has a schedule stacked up the way the Amerks do here the next couple of weekends?
Well, first of all, I'm not going to complain about the present schedule and the way it's worked out the last couple of years. You remember when we used to have 17, 18, 19 3-and-3s in the season, which was just incredibly tough on the players. And so now we're at 3 and 4 usually each year. So, like I said, I'm not going to complain about it. We do have to have some in order to be able to fit all of the games in. But the thing is to pace yourself, to make sure that you're getting plenty of rest. They get good meals. The organization takes great care of them as far as making sure they eat properly. And we don't have a whole lot of extra bodies around right now. We do have some recalls and that. The other part is trying to weather the storm on some of the bug that's been going through the team and actually the world of hockey and sports perhaps. So trying to weather the storm there, keep everybody healthy, and especially the ones that get sick, have them, hey, wait a minute, you stay home. Don't come out here. You stay home for a while. And so they've been doing that. So just getting through all of those little things are important. And again, don't overdo, just pace yourself. I think as far as the weekend's concerned.
Yeah, Mike Leone wasn't even available. Goes all the way up to Laval. Has to watch the game from his hotel there. It's got to be something. As you said.
Yeah, 2 games there. 2 games there in both games actually in the hotel. Then when we left, we went back to the hotel, picked him up on the way out of town, and he had to go sit in the back of the bus by himself. He couldn't be around anybody else. So, yeah, that was interesting.
Don Stevens will be on the call tonight. Don, loaded question, right? And this is the old Amerks fan of me, right? You were here in '87, they won. You were here in '96, they won. I mean, does this current Amerks team right now have the ingredients? Do they have the makings, perhaps, adding to that list here in 2025?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that they have the possibility. It's so much luck goes into the whole thing at this point. We've gotten through the trade deadline. The Amerks actually, it was too bad to lose Obey Cabell because he was becoming a very good part up front. But they did, on the other hand, gain a great defenseman in Eric Brandstrom. So that is there. And the other players like Kozak and Murray, for example, will be coming back from the Sabres. We know that much. So I think the roster looks good. If you can get through healthy, as I'm knocking on wood here, avoid the injuries and the real tough time down the last stretch here, stay healthy. They've got a good chance at it. Laval is an outstanding team. Actually, the whole division is an outstanding team. You're not assured of winning anything in this series the way it is.
Don Stevens joining us. You'll hear him on the call tonight with Charlotte, the opponent from Blue Cross Arena, and then the team goes on the road for Saturday, back on Sunday for Bills Day at Blue Cross Arena, Don. And I know that they like to theme a lot of things around the Bills and the Bills game day experience. Are we going to see you jumping through any tables on Sunday afternoon, Don?
Well, it wouldn't be a question if I could go through the table. It'd be a question if I could get up on top of something high enough to be able to jump down on it. I can't get up that high. No, I think I'll pass. Thank you.
I'd be concerned. Like, you could go through the table. I just don't know if you get up off the floor, dude. That would hurt.
Well, yeah, I might go through the floor too.
Don, how often do you get the question, "Hey, Don, how much more are you going to do this here?" I mean, you still have it on the call here, Don. Everything.
Well, I'm not asked that more than 7 times a day. I don't think.
Well, okay, now it's just 6 remaining there, Don.
Yeah, no, you're 4th already today. No, it's just kind of, I keep going as I can, and like I say, the cutting down on a little bit of the travel has helped this year, and I've gotten through some health issues and seem to be through all of that, and so people say, well, how's it going? And I say, well, it's going. My knees are going, my back is going, my brain is going, So, but no, it's kind of take it a day at a time. I certainly plan on finishing this season. I certainly plan on doing next season because it's a big year here, 70th year celebration, and I don't want to miss that. So then we'll see where it goes from there.
Don, fantastic hearing your voice. Looking forward to hearing it again tonight on the call as the Amerks host the Checkers. Let's do it again real soon, bud. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, good to talk to you guys.
You got it.
Thanks,
Don Stevens, voice of the Rochester Americans, the Hall of Famer. Hear him tonight, hear him all weekend on the Fan Rochester. 3 games in 3 days coming up here.
Yeah, if you like Gallows humor, Don is your guy.
Sure is.
It's Don.
Sure is. But he's not wrong about this team. I mean, the makings are there. There is some luck involved in course in hockey, and sometimes it's just about how the puck bounces. But when you get some of those reinforcements back, when you get Kozak, when you get Murray back, and you get this team fully on the ice, engaged, hard team to stop. And maybe that was a part of that 5-game skid that we just saw them get through.
Like he said, though, in that 5-game skid, they're all 1-goal losses, 2 of them in overtime.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like you didn't get any points out of the thing. I'm sticking to this. If Laval ends up winning the division, okay. We'll see you in the divisional final, I suppose. You won't get home ice. I'm not overly concerned about that. I think that just as long as you're playing your best hockey here in the closing weeks.
All right, tournament action ongoing right now. Duke is putting it on Mount St. Mary's, a 20-point lead here with 6:40 left in the first half. That's not too much of a surprise there as the Blue Devils are handling the Mount with relative ease. Memphis down 6 to Colorado State. That could be another 12-5 upset in the making there if Colorado State holds on. They're midway through the second half. We have other scores that have gone final from earlier today as well.
Yep, we've got Baylor over Mississippi State by 3, Alabama by 9 over Robert Morris.
Alabama by
9 times.
Iowa State a 3, blowing out Lipscomb. That's always kind of a test here. Where is Lipscomb?
The Mount St. Mary's is Pennsylvania, if I'm not mistaken, right? Mount St. Mary's is somewhere there, right between, right by the Pennsylvania Maryland border, somewhere around there.
They are the Mountaineers, and they are in Maryland. That's correct.
Okay, so it's right after you get over the Pennsylvania border. You get right there to Maryland. I feel like I've driven by Mount St. Mary's on one of my many treks down south to Florida. And all right, so there's one that I've seen. Lipscomb I've never seen. No idea. Where'd you say that was?
Nashville.
All right. Very good. We'll keep you updated on these tournament games throughout the course of the afternoon. Coming up next, Gene, if I may, I think it's kind of funny how in the last couple of weeks with Myles Garrett kind of coming off the table, with Max Crosby getting his long-term deal, I think a lot of us as Bills fans have kind of taken our foot off the gas and shrugged our shoulders and said, oh, well, okay, I guess that's it. We just can't get an elite pass rusher. There's still somebody out there that I want the Bills to go get. There's still somebody out there who can make a difference, and I'm going to make the argument as to why Brandon Beane should go ahead and do this. I know it might be a long shot. I know it might be a pipe dream, but I think it's the kind of difference-making move that cements your legacy and makes the Bills, if they're not already a Super Bowl contender, it cements them as a Super Bowl contender.
See, if it's a guy I'm thinking of that you're referring of, I don't know how you would pull that off, but he's Brandon Beane, but I wouldn't argue that. I just don't know if it's plausible.
Yeah.
I'm curious to get your take on this. Also, Danger, I always kind of feel when you get these, hey, somebody is is really sick, and we're asking, here's a GoFundMe. And I will quite often say, yes, here you go. Where's the line when it comes to that stuff, though? Seems like when it comes to Buffalo, there's no line. Everybody kind of comes in, and it's just a sad story out of baseball. And it's surprising that it's an organization that we always say, oh, that's not how you run an organization that finds themselves right now in the middle of a bad PR situation.
We'll take a quick break. We'll come back with more. Jim Riley, Ballcap Sports, going to join us in the 4 o'clock hour. We'll talk some MLB as well. The Fan Rochester.
You're listening to the Sports Bar. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan.
It's Danger and Battaglia here to kick off your sports weekend.
Yeah, this story came across, and whenever you play, Jeremy White does this. Remember some guys. This is a guy from baseball. Like, oh yeah, that guy. Oh, this is a really sad story. And like when we talk about the bad organizations in baseball, Danger, you could do a power ranking. In fact, I think baseball has more incompetent organizations than any other sport. That's saying a lot, right? In baseball, you've got the Athletics, you've got the Marlins, the Angels, and the White Sox. Top of the
Their
list.
cap says anals. I don't know if you saw their new.
I did see that. Anyhow, the White Sox. White Sox actually did win a World Series, though, unlike these other teams recently. The White Sox won back in the year 2005. And the closer of that team, he's now 44 years old, Bobby Jenks. I remember Bobby Jenks, right? Well, come to find out, it's really not going so well for Bobby Jenks. He lost his home in the California wildfires. That's terrible. He's so kind of homeless right now. He's also battling stage 4 stomach cancer. In the way it sounds, it doesn't sound too good, right? Stage 4. He's going to do an autograph show this weekend with money to pay his medical bills. That's being kind of billed up front. People online right now shaming the White Sox for not offering their former World Series hero the health care to pick this up. Now, Danger, this is a tricky one, all right? The team doesn't owe a former employee technically anything.
Yep.
But on the other hand, organizing an event to help pay his bills would be good PR, not to mention probably the humane thing to do. This is why most teams actually have player foundations for these sort of situations.
Yeah, it's not a great look. I agree. Like, the team doesn't owe them anything, and you can shame them all they want. The White Sox are dysfunctional. They're going to operate the way they operate, and chances are they're not going to spend extra money if they don't have to. But from a PR standpoint and by just a good humanitarian standpoint, the right thing to do would be like, hey, buddy, let us help you out. Here you go. But I'm not going to hold my breath that they're going to do the right thing. When does a billionaire do the right thing? He'll do the right thing by his bank account and do the right thing by his super yacht.
Wow, I would think that there's got to be some sort of event or one of your sponsors that you could go to and say, hey, whoever it may be, let's help one of our own out here.
You would think. That's terrible. More worried about the stage 4 stomach cancer. I mean, the home can be replaced, but knowing that he's battling that and dealing with financial struggles with the medical bills, there is also a part of me that wishes more athletes educated themselves on how to manage their money, because the money that they make through the course of their career, I mean, it's life-changing money. And I just wish more of them were educated on how to actually hold on to their money, make a difference with the money, because they can all be not only wealthy and take care of future generations for their family, they can also be themselves philanthropic and generous with.
See, you're talking like, grown father too. How would a 22-year-old Mike Danger, like you don't
I
know.
get it. That's why I'm saying I wish, when I was 22, I wish I had my father-in-law educating me on how to deal with my finances, because I didn't have that. Everybody should have that, somebody in their life, whether it's an educator or, an agent. In this case of we're talking about professional athletes. I can't tell them how to spend their money when they're 22. If they want to be, crazy and buy a car that's, if they can afford it, go get it. If you can pay cash for it, go get it. But understand that you don't know what the future holds. And these are stories that just make me sad and a little bit upset that they didn't take that path where they were able to kind of secure their future for themselves and for their entire family.
All right, you want to take a guess? Bobby Jenks' career earnings. Now, this is 20 years ago. Main closer.
I mean, he's a multimillionaire.
Yeah, $26.4 million.
Yeah.
And apparently his career ended. This is kind of sad. He leaves the White Sox. I barely remember this. Joins the Red Sox. Malpractice, something with his spine that ended his career.
Okay.
And so he sued and ended up with a $5.1 million settlement. Going back through all this. So Bobby Jenks, wish him well. and for every team, set up a foundation. So you think ahead here.
I like how when Myles Garrett, Max Crosby came off the table, everyone kind of gave up on the Bills' pursuit of an elite pass rusher. And no, Joey Bosa is not what I would consider an elite pass rusher, not at this stage of his career. How many draft picks do the Bills have over the next 2 years, Gino?
Well, I know this year they have 10.
Next year they have 11.
Oh, jeez.
They have 21 picks over the next 2 seasons. Here's a news flash. All 21 of those players won't be starters or contributors for this Buffalo Bills team. You just dealt Kyer Elam to Dallas, team that's an absolute mess, team that is yet to extend their best player. Gino, I want Micah Parsons. I want Micah Parsons in Buffalo so bad. Backload the deal however you need to or want to. Make him the highest paid non-quarterback in the game. Give him what he wants. Have him end his career in Buffalo, the team owned by another Penn State guy. Give up your first rounder this year. Give up your first rounder next. Add a true difference maker for this season and beyond. I know a lot of people will say I'm nuts. I'm not nuts. I want to exploit the Cowboys' incompetence. I want Parsons in Buffalo.
Yeah, and I'd like to be a multi-millionaire and doing this show from the beach too, Danger. I mean, like, I hear you. I understand. I would love it, but why would we think that Jerry Jones all of a sudden would say, this negotiation's going awry, I'm going to trade him to Buffalo? Why would we think that?
Draft picks. Rebuild. He's done it before.
Jerry's done it before?
With back in the day, the Herschel Walker deal, right? That was the deal that made the Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl champions.
Okay, that is going back to 1990?
That was before Jerry or right around Jerry?
That was when
Jerry reaped the benefits.
Jerry had nothing to do with that. That was
the benefits.
Right. It was Jimmy Johnson and it was the Vikings, but that's the running back position. Jerry is all about putting on a show. He's all about collecting the stars. He's not going to give up one of his prize stars.
To get 2 first-round draft picks, 2 future stars, let them worry about the potential of a first-round draft pick. We've got our guy.
So, okay, if I had to go why this wouldn't happen, down on the list, probably Brandon Bean's like, yeah, I'd love to see that. Okay, cross that off. Of course Brandon Bean would like that. Brandon Bean would talk to the owner, Terry Pegula. By the way, he went to Penn State. Cross off the money thing. Honestly, I think the Bills would figure that out.
Yeah.
Ultimately, Jerry's not going to deal away a starter.
It's a pain in the ass to Jerry Jones. He's going to be a pain in the ass for the next 6 months as he's trying to negotiate a deal.
So was CeeDee Lamb. So was Dak Prescott.
Yeah, I know it's probably not going to happen. I get it. It's a pipe dream. You can tell me that. But I'm also making the argument that we shouldn't, I'll make this plea. If you're Brandon Bean, don't stop at just trading Kyer Elam with a dysfunctional organization. Dig a little bit deeper.
Well, that's always kind of a good way. Find the dumbass organization. Sorry, Cowboy fan.
What will it take?
Figure out who you can go pick off players from. Back in the day when the Oakland A's were actually getting to the playoffs with Billy Bean, he'd always call up the GM of the Kansas City Royals. And that's in the book Moneyball because, he was stupid.
Yeah.
And he'd get a good player out of it.
What would it take? I love what would it take because it implies a yes. What would it take for us to get take Parsons from you? What would it take for us to make that payment to Parsons and save you that hassle this offseason?
Okay, so let's, for the sake of this, I'm picturing coming into Rochester tonight is Terry Pegula. Hey, the Sabres aren't playing. I want to go watch my hockey team. Maybe I'll go visit my in-laws. Terry Pegula is listening to the Sports Bar right now.
Terry, go get it done.
Yeah, Terry, this is an ownership trade. This is one done over drinks. This is, hey, I signed on with your company for my new stadium. I can do other things for you here too, Jerry. Money, 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 money. Terry, that's the Penn State guy.
Owners meetings get underway this weekend.
Yes, you see where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
So, Terry, I know you listen to the show.
Get him sauced.
Yeah.
Get Jerry sauced. Take advantage. Exploit that man.
Get him sauced.
Get him sauced. Exploit that man. Put it on a cocktail napkin, and let's get a deal done that brings Mike Parsons to the Buffalo Bills defense. This will be an annual plea, by the way. When the Bills don't get the guy that we want, because we all wanted Myles Garrett. going to wait and wait and wait, and the price goes up and up and up. And I'm saying you've got 21 draft picks to work with over the course of the next 2 seasons. But but you do have 21 to work with over the next 2 seasons. There's a lot of capital there that you could give them just to make Miles, or just to make Micah Parsons the highest paid non-quarterback in the league.
Isn't that hilarious now that your guy Ditka actually did that? Here, have our entire draft.
It cost him his job.
Yeah.
I mean, it did.
Yeah.
I mean, after that, it was like, okay, well, that didn't work. You're out of here. And he hasn't been a coach since. I don't know that I would ever advise any team to do what Ditka did, but Ditka, he loved him some running backs. Yeah, he had the best of all time in his backfield while he was in Chicago, and he thought he might have had something else in Ricky Williams. Didn't really pan out that way for him in New Orleans. All right, we get an update here on some tournament action.
Yeah, it's Memphis in a little bit of trouble. 3:54 remaining. Colorado State at 12, leading Memphis a 5, 68-60. Certainly that's within striking distance, but they've got some work to do late. Vanderbilt up still early in this one, 16-13. Actually, they're midway through the first, so that's St. Mary's ball there for you. They're just going to slow it down. Duke at the half now, 54-28, leading the Mountaineers of Mount St. Mary.
Very good. We'll take a break and come back. Jim Riley, Ball Cap Sports. We'll talk some MLB in the 4 o'clock hour. And we have plenty of time for your calls as well on the other side of this break at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326.
Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Busy weekend for the Amerks beginning tonight. 3 games in 3 days. The Charlotte Checkers coming back to town. First game in a full week for Rochester. Don Stevens, Andrew Mossbrooks will have your call tonight here on The Fan beginning at 7 o'clock. Day number 2 of the NCAA tournament, and we've got some finals. No real upsets. A 9-8. Baylor over Mississippi State, 75-72. Iowa State blowing out Lipscomb in a 3-14 matchup, 82-55. It was Alabama over number 15 Robert Morris by 9, 90-81. Games that are in progress as Duke has gone to the half. No problems with Mount St. Mary's up 54-28. Memphis late, trailing Colorado State 72-61. Just a little over 2 minutes remaining in that one. Vanderbilt up on St. Mary's late in the first, 22-16. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
By the way, I don't need to belabor this too much. I know you're all watching college basketball.
Men's March Madness is back on the court for day 2.
The women's March Madness.
Hey, who do you have going all the way?
Who do you have going all the way?
We've got our Final Four predictions.
And I always like to remind fans, it's short for fanatic. We get irrational when it comes to these things.
First of all, fans are stupid.
Mike Danger.
Gino. People do actually still have the paper bracket, and for those of you who still have a perfect bracket, congratulations. But you're likely to win the lottery several times over before we ever see a perfect March Madness bracket.
Gene Battaglia.
Nobody cares about my bracket, but for what it's worth, you took Duke. I took Florida.
I talked to Jalen. He actually gave me his NBA password. I can watch any game I want at any time.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
That was a fun afternoon yesterday watching the tournament at the tap room at Bill Gray's. Mike Rosadonia, the head coach of St. John Fisher, joining us yesterday.
That story was this, because Mike Rosadonia, before he got to Fisher, was the head coach at Aquinas, where he helped develop and mold Jalen Pickett. And who knew Jalen Pickett, when playing at Aquinas, would go on eventually to Penn State, eventually be a first-round pick. And now he's a very useful part for that Denver Nuggets team, especially playing defense. And I'm going to be looking forward to the playoffs. And had to ask Coach, hey, how often do you catch the Nuggets on TV? Whenever I want. Jalen gave me his password for NBA League Pass.
Now, earlier this week when we had Trista Crick on, she said the winner of her pool would get the PJ Glasser's Fubo login and password. What do you think is more valuable, the Fubo password from PJ or Pickett's NBA League Pass? I'd go with Pickett's NBA League Pass. I mean, we should have done a bracket and had that up for grabs. Get Grossadonia to spill the username and password there so that we could give that away to somebody. That's a high value prize there.
Great story there. And thanks again to everybody who came out taproom at Bill Gray's. That was so much fun. That's one of those days looking forward to. Have been asked the question. I think we can say this officially, Danger. Yes, we will be at Three Heads coming up for draft day. So
that's our next live show.
That will be our next live show.
Okay, very good. So put that in your calendar. The day 1 of the NFL draft here at the end of April. We will be at our home away from home. We love going to Three Heads when we talk NFL, when we talk draft, when we talk the Buffalo Bills. Three Heads has been our spot, and we're back there for the first day of the NFL draft. That's coming up next month. Can't wait for that. Jim Riley at Ball Cap Sports will stop by the sports bar here in about 15, 20 minutes or so. We'll talk some MLB as the season is set to start. What is it, Thursday, right, already? Mm-hmm. We're less than a week away, even though you have the 2 games from Japan between the Cubs and the Dodgers already in the books. So Riley will stop by the sports bar, and we'll get his take on the upcoming MLB season. You can join us at 866-4FAN. Keep that number handy because before 6 o'clock, we'll give away a free pair of tickets to see the Black Keys at CMAC on Saturday, August 30th, courtesy of the Bowery Presents. Those tickets coming up here before we get to 6 o'clock.
Happy birthday going out to Buffalo Bills head coach Sean McDermott.
Hey, happy 51st, Coach.
This is like the one time a year where he just kind of gets to be himself. Like when we saw him at the Combine. Now, mind you, the Combine, I guess there is business there, but seeing him kind of be goofy in a live stand-up with Dan Bates and Mike Catalana and just seem kind of more relaxed. I'm wondering if he actually just kind of treats himself to some actual bad food tonight.
Do you think he feels the pressure that we think he feels? We think he feels a lot of pressure, right? You're a head coach of this team, and you can't get to the Super Bowl, and you're nothing more than current-day Marty Schottenheimer. And you win a lot of games, and you win the division, but you can't get over on Andy Reid when it counts, and you can't get to the Super Bowl. Do you think he feels the pressure that we think he feels? I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say yes.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say at 51 years old, a guy who took this team from the depths of where they were to where they are, like he's kind of proven himself. If it doesn't go well, and let's say over the next 3 years, 3 seasons, same rinse and repeat,
Yeah.
he's probably not going anywhere.
Well, what causes, like when you say pressure, like I would frame it a different way. Like what causes him stress? And if you had to say what have been some stressful storylines for Sean McDermott, some of it his own doing.
The Ty Dunn piece.
13 seconds.
Yes.
Matt Ariza.
Yes.
Steph Diggs.
Yep.
I don't want to call them controversies. I'll just call them stressful events. Ty Dunn piece, that's a controversy. Okay, you can't say that, and he came right out. And it's kind of telling that everybody kind of rallied around him, too.
Oh, yeah. And I'm not saying any of this. Like, I think what he's shown us in the last 12 months, let's say, whether it's Snow Angels on national TV with his quarterback or clowning on Catalana and Fates at the Combine, I think he's just become super comfortable in his skin, more confident that he is one of the best head coaches in the NFL. He's part of the competition committee now, so he's got a seat at that table. And if he were to be let go by the Bills, I know a lot of people listening were like, they should let him go. They fire that guy. We'll be hearing this over the next 12 months. And I guarantee you, if you were to move on from him, there would be a lineup of teams ready to hire him immediately. They wouldn't wait. They would we skip the interview. Screw the Rooney Rule. That's our guy. Bring him in here. And he would get that job. Very similar to his mentor, right? Very similar to what happened with Andy Reid, where his time just ran out in Philadelphia. He goes to greener pastures, and we realize then, oh, yeah, he was a really, really good coach with now talented pieces around him to get him to the Super Bowl.
It's funny because if you ask any Eagle fan, like, why did it kind of wear down? Well, bigger market for one, but also it's funny how the similarities, Andy Reid not buttoned up when it like Monday through Saturday, one of the best ever. Like that, but on Sundays with clock management and some of the things, it just kind of wore on. And my gosh, you look back at the losses last year for the Buffalo Bills, the Rams game, not really good. The Houston game, are you kidding me? And then the Kansas City game, the AFC Championship game, sure, you want to point to coaching. Whenever there is a loss, it's the head coach that has to wear it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the quarterback danger is so good now. We give Allen a pass when he's bad in Houston, which he was. He
wasn't good in Houston,
No.
but you can't blame him for Kansas City. Like, that wasn't on Allen.
How could you?
Yeah.
Like, all these playoff losses the Bills have had. Okay.
Cincinnati, he wasn't good.
The end.
Mm-hmm.
The end.
Yeah.
Every other game he's done, okay, yeah, he didn't make the play at the end of the Kansas City game last year. Not last year, 2 years ago at home. For Sean McDermott does he feel the pressure? I'd love to know what that conversations are like with Terry Pegula. Like, how is it? What is that? Is he the manager who's going to nitpick?
But think about how he was when they brought him in versus how he is now. I mean, we're talking, how many years has he been here now? We're talking about 8 years, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he started a guy in his early 40s, and now he's 51 today, celebrating.
This will be your season number 9 coming up.
9 times.
Wow.
How much has changed in the man from where he was to where he is? And I think there's, when I talk about him maybe not feeling the pressure that we believe he feels, it's just a comfort in his own skin, a confidence that I'm doing the job that they pay me to do, and I'm doing it at a high level every single day. And if that's not good enough for them, so be it. I will be fine. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if coaches are wired that way or if he's wired that way. I imagine they're all going to say, no, we're competitors. We want to get there. We're all of course he's disappointed. But to see him clowning the way he was at the combine with Catalana and with Dan, and to know that he's just like during the offseason, he feels just more relaxed. And the owners' meetings are coming up, right? And we'll get the team picture and the whole thing. And I just wonder, if he feels the pressure that we think he feels. And I'm saying I don't know that he does. I think he's so in the moment doing his gig, knowing this is what needs to be done now. I've done it enough. I've got enough repetition under my belt that I know that this will get it. It's the pressure is how do we get that little bit more? Yep. But even that little bit more, that pressure is just a little bit more pressure. I don't know that he entirely feels all the pressure that we feel he feels.
I'm positioning it as stress. And when you learn from all these events, you learn how to manage it a little bit better. It's not going to go away. Guess what's going to happen? There's going to be some other thing that's going to come up. You're responsible for everything. It's got to – Deidre, you're managing a football roster with guys who need to get paid. You have a coaching staff where, let's be honest, everybody has kind of an agenda where they want their career to go. And eventually it was going well with Sean McDermott and Brian Dable until it wasn't.
Well, yeah, right. And I'm sure there are guys on his staff right now, but, I'm assuming he's a good enough leader to know, all right, we know Joe Brady wants to be a head coach someday. I'm a good enough leader where I want him to get to where he wants to be. I'm going to help him get to where he wants to be, even if it means I have to go find a new offensive coordinator. That's fine, because Joe Brady's success is my success. He'll always be known as the guy that helped get the Buffalo Bills to the AFC Championship game or helped get the Buffalo Bills over that hump to the Super Bowl in the upcoming season. Whatever it might be, you're Sean McDermott. You want to see your guys go off and succeed. I don't know what happened with Daboll, because there was certainly you just get the sense those two don't see eye to eye, and they probably didn't see eye to eye that last season that Daboll was here.
The lack of a handshake, it was just a bare minimum following that game.
Yep.
And usually you're talking about your McDermott always glowing, and there wasn't anything
just
like
a difference of style, maybe a difference in how they want to manage the game, just, differences of opinion. Realizing Brian Daboll maybe realizing, like, I've got this friggin' Corvette that I can't wait to unleash, yet I've got the coach in my headset telling me run the ball more. Like, just a difference in opinion could have been enough to say, or Sean McDermott could view it as, well, Daboll is just using Josh Allen to get to his head coaching job, right? Like, that's a thing too, right? You could imagine that. I don't want to say that. I don't want to believe that McDermott is petty that way. Like, I want to believe that ultimately Brian Daboll's success is a reflection of Sean McDermott's success. But maybe McDermott knew that, hey, if Daboll is going to be a head coach, he might not be successful because he's a different breed of cat. And we've seen the differences in how McDermott deals with adversity on the sideline versus how Daboll deals with adversity on the sideline. It's night and day.
I mean, McDermott's we can't gloss over this. Who's his mentor?
Reed.
Not today.
Oh, no.
No. I'm saying, yes, and your mentor fired you.
You're right.
So you had to become your own man, basically, at that point. Sean McDermott got into this league, and look, whatever profession you want to go into, you say this all the time, say yes. That was Sean McDermott.
Show up and say yes.
Show up and say yes. I'm an intern. I will drive your car, and I'll go get an oil change. I'll do whatever, Coach Reed. He literally was that guy, executive assistant to Philadelphia head coach Andy Reid. And you know a little thing about football, and you kind of get a little more responsibility. You show you could do it. You show you could do it. You show you could do it until the whole city of Philadelphia wants you fired, and then your mentor fires you. Probably felt bad about it, but he had to do that to keep his own job.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of sounds kind of like a movie script, right? And now here's Sean McDermott trying to figure this out. He ends up in a place he never thought he would imagine, Buffalo. He did a fine job of developing the culture here. Remember, it was like culture over talent. What's more? Remember those? And well, you can have the talent, but if you don't have the culture, it ain't going to work.
Right. And ultimately, quarterback is everything too, right? Like we could be talking about needing more talented players on this roster, but we don't because we have the quarterback. And you have the quarterback. And what we were saying earlier about Micah Parsons, like, God, that would be amazing. Could you imagine you have Micah Parsons on one side of the ball and Josh Allen on the other side of the ball? Who's beating you? Who's beating you? Nobody. I know it's a pipe dream, but that's what I'm talking about, talent versus culture. And we had that debate for a long time because it was a lot of talk and not a lot of action. Like, oh, we want to build a culture. Culture goes like, okay, yeah. But, some of these guys.
Sign somebody, right?
Yeah, some of these guys are not the best guys, but they're incredibly talented. Hey, the Bills, by the way, they're not all Boy Scouts. I mean, Von Miller's a great example of that. They went out and got a guy who'd been suspended and who got suspended again while he was in Buffalo, but he's one hell of a ball player, and he'll be in the Hall of Fame someday. So there's, for as much as we talk about culture versus talent, they've had that mix, whether you want to talk about Miller or Diggs. They've managed through it. You know what? I like Sean McDermott. I do. I know that I've been critical, and you've been critical, and we've all been critical.
Yep.
But on his birthday today, his 51st birthday, I think you could look around the NFL. You could see a lot of teams that have a lot of questions, a lot of good teams with questions about who's leading this franchise, who's the face, who's the CEO, who's the person that's front-facing, and is that really the person that's going to lead you to a championship? I can see it with Sean McDermott, and I can't see it with a lot of other head coaches in the NFL.
Coaches that are safe in this league. Andy Reid.
Sean McDermott.
Yeah. Sean McDermott.
Yeah.
For one more year, Nick Sirianni. I could see that too. Something. I feel like he's always kind of on borrowed time, but
I think Sean McVay is pretty secure in his position in LA. I mean, if he walks away, it's going to be because he wants to walk away. That feels like one.
Tomlin shouldn't be. Maybe we get to that point.
He really shouldn't be, but he is.
Which Harbaugh is more secure right now?
Right now, it's Jim.
That's correct.
Yeah, John Harbaugh. Every year, it's like this guy can't get us to. They're hearing the same thing in Baltimore that we hear about McDermott with Harbaugh. It's he can only get us so far. He can only get us so far. We need to change. And again, there's another guy, John Harbaugh. If he were let go, you'd have a lineup of teams saying, we want that guy.
Dan Campbell is safe for now, but if you lost both of your coordinators, and how did this end up being a 5-win team? Don't laugh. Things like that happen in this league. Matt LaFleur?
Safe.
Yeah.
Safe.
I mean, it's a short list.
Yeah. We'll go to Major League Baseball next. Ballcap Sports, the YouTube channel, where you'll find our next guest, Jim Riley, stopping by to preview the 2025 MLB season next on The Fan.
It's hockey night tonight in Rochester. The Charlotte Checkers are back in town. First of 3 games in 3 days for the red, white, and blue. Don Stevens, Andrew Mossbergs will have your call beginning at 7 here on the Fan Rochester. Got another upset here in the NCAA tournament. A 12-5. Colorado State. It's gone final, knocking off Memphis 78-70. Other finals from today: Baylor over Mississippi State 75-72. Iowa State no problems with Lipscomb 82-55. It's Alabama over Robert Morris 90-81. Games in progress. Duke in the second half 61-30. They're up on Mount St. Mary's. St. Mary's also in action. They're trailing Vanderbilt at the half 29-22. Ole Miss leading North Carolina 20-11 midway through the first. Gene Battaglia, the Fan Rochester.
Top Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
All right, a little break from March Madness. Look ahead to the calendar here. Opening day next week. And baseball season already underway with the Tokyo series between the Dodgers and the Cubs. We welcome in Jim Riley, Ballcap Sports, the channel on YouTube for you to check out. Jim, I'm just going to hit you right off the top with my prediction for the 25 season. The LA Dodgers will win 157 games this season.
They're on their way. They already got
They're
two
well
of those
on their
wins.
way.
Yep, two of those wins are under the belt, and 155 more to go.
I told Gino the 5 losses. You have them written down.
Yeah, so these are the 5 teams that will beat the Dodgers. You have the Diamondbacks. It's not a surprise, right? They're a good team. You have the Giants in a rivalry game. You have the Athletics rising up. Somehow the Rockies are going to win a game, and somehow the Marlins.
Yep.
Does this sound plausible to you, Jim?
Oh, man, maybe did the entire team come down with some kind of virus or get left behind in Albuquerque or something when they were en route to Miami? Because I don't know how they would lose to Miami, even if they only fielded 5 guys.
It'll be the Marlins, like it's their World Series. Like they'll storm the fans. All 5 fans will storm the field when they. Well, there'll be a lot of fans there because the Dodgers are in town. But you know what I'm saying. And plus with their payroll of approximately $7.3 trillion. Mostly deferred. There's just nobody beating the Dodgers this year. Oh, it's good having you on with us, Jim. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to be here. I'm excited for the season to get started. I love it. I love it, though, because you know what this does? Everybody outside of Dodgers Nation has like a universal bad guy. And it's good. It's good for there to be a villain. It's historically been the Yankees, right? And now everybody's ganging up and they hate the Dodgers. So when the Dodgers come to your town, you want to beat them. You've got this emotional interest in it. So I'm all for it. I think it adds a layer of intrigue to the season. Can you imagine if the Dodgers don't win the World Series? I mean, it'll be content for weeks just on that. What went wrong? Who messed up? Do they fire Dave Roberts? All that stuff. It'll be great.
Jim, about opening up over in Tokyo, and you see the numbers. It's like, wow, 1 in every 5 households watching that game, and movie theaters sold out.
Yeah.
Are we at the point now where it used to be opening day in Cincinnati, here's the first pitch? Are we going to have Major League Baseball overseas to open up every single year now?
I think as long as the Dodgers – yeah, I mean, it's the Dodgers, right? They are going to open up overseas. I think you'll have – you had the Tokyo Dome. They were in Korea last year. They were in Seoul, South Korea last year. I think that you will see them, especially with the sort of interest from that marketplace with Ohtani, with Yamamoto, with Seiya Suzuki. You've got it locked in. And the Cubs were paired with them. That was not a coincidence. That's because the Cubs have Shota Imanaga and Seiya Suzuki. So with the influence expanding like that, and the Dodgers are going to be the team that has to suck it up every year and go overseas and do the time change because that's where the sort of epicenter of this interest lies. It's a huge marketplace, and it makes sense from that perspective. If everyone wants to grow the game globally, and the Dodgers are certainly doing that.
I hear what you're saying about making the Dodgers a villain and being the team that has the target on their back. It's hard to root against a player though who is doing and is going to do what Shohei is doing. Yeah. I mean, can we put into words what we're witnessing with this player, what we could see this year, knowing that he's even healthier than last year, his first year in L.A.?
This is historic. We're watching history. We're watching a guy that 100 years from now, people are going to talk about. We don't like this. There is now somebody in baseball who can officially dethrone Babe Ruth as the biggest name, most influential player in the history of baseball. That is what we are watching right now. Whereas 100 years after Ruth, everyone was still talking about him and marveling. Same thing will be happening with Ohtani. We get to live through it. It's amazing. Guys, we got Jordan, we got Brady, and we got Ohtani in our lifetime. That's pretty special, and Ohtani will go down as number one history-making, glorifying, romanticizing player in the history of the sport.
Now, Jim, one of the things, too, like having the Dodgers on one coast, the number 2 market, going against the number 1 market in the Yankees in the World Series. And look, it wasn't a great World Series. We'll probably remember it for that meltdown that the Yankees had in that fateful fifth inning. But now you don't have Garrett Cole. You don't have Luis Gil. Like, what is your level of concern for the Yankees in that rotation? Or do you just look at the American League and say, you know what, they are still good enough here, whether they win the division or not, they're certainly going to get into the postseason?
It's 162 games, not 17 games. So if you're going to miss 2 months, you still have a ton of time to make up ground, to establish your dominance. Like Luis Gil, he's going to miss the first couple of months of the season. He'll get back. I still believe the Yankees have enough talent on this team to win the division. I actually am going to have on my channel tomorrow debut my American League East predictions. And I'm going to have the Yankees a couple of games ahead of the Boston Red Sox. I believe the Yankees, 2 things are going to drive them. So last year, because I think the Yankees have been accused of prospect hugging. They don't want to part with Everson Pereira. They didn't want to part with Luis Gil. They don't want to part with Spencer Jones. Well, 2 things are different this year. Number 1, they just got embarrassed by the Dodgers in the World Series. That can't happen again, okay? And Soto is gone. So I guess those 2 things kind of go, hand in hand. The other thing that stands on its own is that Garrett Cole's not coming back. Last year, they could count on Garrett Cole coming back and that he would be the mid to late season addition. They don't have that this year. Gil will be back, but it's still not going to be the rotation they envisioned when they signed Max Fried. Fried steps up into Cole's role, but it's not a Fried and Cole situation. So I think if they have to, I think this would be the year where maybe they finally decide, okay, Spencer Jones has got to go because we can get Sandy Alcantara from the Miami Marlins. I think they will make the necessary moves to get back to make sure they stay at the top of the division, to try to get back to the World Series and have a fighting chance when they face the Dodgers, if it is indeed the Dodgers on the other side.
So let's talk about that team you have finishing second in the East, in the Boston Red Sox, because you had Bregman, which is huge. I want to talk also about a team that what we all kind of viewed as like, this young, exciting team. What happened this offseason that kind of has Baltimore wondering, I'm wondering, what happened to the O's, Jim?
Yeah, they'll still be there. I believe the Orioles will grab a wild card spot. They will be there, but I think they will be limited as to how far they can go by their rotation. They did not replace Corbin Burns. They tried to, but they didn't. They were ready to offer Burns a record contract, but Burns wanted to stay close to home in Arizona. So it gives you an idea of their mindset. They know that they need that guy, but they have not shown. And unlike the Yankees, I think the Orioles will remain in a mode where they want to hold on to their top prospects. I know they have dealt some off, but those are guys that they've already felt out and feel like the Kobe Mayos, the Kyle Stowers, the DL Halls, the Julio Ortiz. They felt like those guys weren't going to be a part of that core. There's guys that they feel will be a part of the core that they have to deal to get an ace, and an ace with multiple years of control. So the Orioles, I think, will be restricted by their starting pitching and their lack. I think they have the worst starting pitching in the American League East, which is really going to hurt them. But their lineup, the Orioles lineup, is one of the best in baseball. So because of that, I think the Orioles still get back to the postseason, but they're probably, again, limited as to how far they can go because they will be going up against teams that have 2, maybe 3 aces in their rotation. And best case scenario, the Orioles will have one. So they'll be outgunned by the time we get to October.
Jim Riley, Ballcat Sports, as we're previewing the 2025 Major League Baseball season, every Red Sox fan I talk to is so optimistic about this team.
Yeah.
And now you look back and like, oh gosh, they got Walker Buehler too, Crochet. They pick up, for what? I mean. Do they have enough in that lineup? I know they have Bregman, but I'm just looking at it right now. The Red Sox, they look like they can be a fun story. Are you a believer? You mentioned you have them in second place.
Yeah, I'm a believer. I really do. I think Duran is fantastic. I think Devers could be playing with a chip on his shoulder this year, which could maybe fuel him. Bregman, while I don't believe he is an elite bat, he is a good enough bat to contribute in a really positive way here. I go through this lineup, and I think about I think this team can go, out of their 9 guys, I think they can go 7 deep, 7 guys that you don't want to pitch to. The only 2 that you can probably feel good about is if you go up against Connor Wong and Trevor Story. Those are the only 2 bats that you'll probably get a breather against. Everybody else is going to give you fits. So I think the lineup is good, and there's depth there too. They've got Campbell, who is close, maybe ready. Meyer is having a great spring training. He's proving that he might be ready. So they got depth in case guys go down or don't perform. They can go to somebody else. And like you mentioned with the pitching with Buehler and Crochet, those are 2 big additions. Both of them top of the rotation arms to pair up with what they've got with Tanner Houck and everybody else in-house. I think the Red Sox are legit enough, and the manager, how they are run, the coaching staff, the Red Sox are poised to push the Yankees. It's going to be a really fun Yankees-Red Sox rivalry year.
Ballcap Sports, the channel on YouTube to check out. Get more of Jim Riley's work. He's joining us now in the Sports Bar and previewing the 2025 MLB season. I want to stay in the AL East and talk about your team. What can we expect out of the Toronto Blue Jays, knowing that Vladdy Jr. is going to hit free agency here at the end of the season?
Yeah, they've got to really drive and push this thing. The other day, the president and CEO, Mark Shapiro, came out and said he feels confident that they will get a Vladimir Guerrero Jr. extension done at some point. That's very interesting for 3 reasons. One, Vladdy supposedly set a deadline, but Vladdy's also still talking about how he's open to, offers. So maybe that deadline for negotiation was not really firm. You have 2 different opinions on this. One from Jeff Passan, who talked about how Shapiro is a really smart individual and isn't going to put this out there if he's just trying to, create distractions or paint himself in a positive picture. Jeff Passan puts it, he's a very intelligent person who knows what he's talking about at all times. But Buster Olney threw some, I guess, I don't call it shade, but almost some doubt into the equation where he puts that out there. It's almost as if the Blue Jays are challenging Vladdy, trying to call his bluff on the amount of money that Vladdy has asked for. Because all reports from Ken Rosenthal and John Heyman and Bob Nightingale, the 2 sides are only $50 million apart on a 14-year deal. That is such a small amount of money when you break that out over the 14 years. You just want to just go get the deal done if you're the Toronto Blue Jays, if you're that close, and this is the face of the franchise. So there's a couple different opinions going on here from 2 very high-profile, respected, and trusted insiders and baseball reporters on this whole situation. But at the end of the day, the Blue Jays are in a really interesting spot because if this is the last year that Vladdy is a Blue Jay and it's the last year that Bo Bichette is a Blue Jay, they have to go all out. And I don't know if they have the talent right now. I mean, I told you I have the Yankees in first, the Red Sox in second, and the Orioles grabbing a wild card spot in third, which means the Toronto Blue Jays are lined up for 4th place. I do think they win more games than they did last year, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to actually make the playoffs and grab the final wild card spot.
Jim, I'm going to ask you a question in a multiple choice, okay? So you tell me which of these. Okay, so the surprise team in 2025, A, Washington, or it'll be B, Cincinnati. Let's throw in C, the Athletics. Don't call them Sacramento. Or D, somebody I'm not mentioning. Who is going to be the surprise team, A, B, C, or D?
Well, I think just for what they could accomplish, I will go with B, Cincinnati, because Cincinnati could win the Central. They have the talent, they have the manager, they have the mind power. I think Cincinnati has what it takes to win that division. The Nats are going to be a nice story. They're going to win more games. You're going to see highlights of James Wood and Dylan Cruz, and they'll be all year long. They'll be calling up top prospects and getting everybody excited. But I don't think that the Nats. I mean, the ceiling for the Nats feels like it's 81 wins, and that's not enough. The A's are going to be another fun team. The A's and Nats are going to be fun, but what they can accomplish is going to be limited. And a lot of it has to do with their pitching. There's just not enough pitching in either of those spots. Even though Oakland went out and got Springs and Severino, they need more. It's basically Springs and Severino and a couple of other guys, J.P. Sears, and even then, it's limited. But I'll go Reds because the Reds have the talent. They have what it takes, and they're also in a division that's wide open.
Yeah. Jim, if it's not the Dodgers in the National League, who is it?
Braves. I think it's the Braves. You've got Chris Sale. Spencer Strider's already starting to pitch in spring games, so he's really close. Ronald Acuna Jr. has been quoted saying he feels good. Now, Alex Anthopoulos isn't really tipping his hand as to when these two are going to be back, but you get an MVP caliber player, you get a Cy Young caliber player back on a team that last year won 89 games without them for most of the year. You get them back early, and you get some bounce backs from guys like Riley and Olsen. I think the Atlanta Braves are right there. If I had to give you another team, Philly. Those two teams, Atlanta, the NL East is going to be amazing. Atlanta, though, would be my first pick. Philly would be my second pick. I think both of those teams, if they're hot, if they can catch the Dodgers at a cool spot in their October evolution, I think they could maybe take them down.
Yeah, Jim, I feel like every time we've had you on in the last couple of years, we're asking about these franchises that find themselves in a pickle by their own doing, mind you. I'm looking at Oakland, in that situation. But to me, the Oakland situation, it's not as bad as what's happening down with the Rays right now. I mean, it's not surprising that we heard the reports they're going to walk away from the deal. But just my simple question to you. Where do we go from here? Do they get sold? Are they going to play in it? I guess they can't play in that stadium. Beyond that, where does the story go?
It feels like we're headed down a road where they get sold because I don't know if that ownership group, that team, can get anything done with any local legislation down there. Any governors, anybody. Any county constituents, you name it. I don't think they can get anything done. So you almost need somebody new in there if you're going to stay in Tampa. Now, maybe the owner says, I'm not selling. I'm going over to Orlando, and that's where we're going to play. This is going to either finish in a sale of the organization or the team moves. And I think if the team moves, it's because ownership is staying in place. But it's gotten really ugly, and I do think it's going to impact them this year. This team is almost this team's almost been built to play their home games in a climate-controlled environment. Now they're not going to, and who knows what the future looks like as well. And the reason I say that is because one of the Rays' strong points has always been their pitching, and they are pitching their home road splits. The home looks really good. The road is still good, but it's not nearly as good. So they're basically going to play 162 games on the road outside. And that is going to hurt them this year. I think they will struggle. But in the end, the future of this club, it feels like current ownership will move them to Orlando, or you get the sale and maybe somebody can work something out in that Tampa-St. Pete area. It's really ugly.
And James, what about the A's? What about the Athletics? Has there been any movement towards a breaking of ground in Vegas? What's the latest there?
No, I think we're still where we were the last time we talked about this thing. There is a feeling in me that things like this find a way, even though they look like the steps, the mountain to get there is insurmountable, that somehow we get there, but maybe not. I mean, you've got Portland, you've got cities now trying to line up to be, you got Nashville, you got these cities that are trying to line up to be the expansion teams. And if this Vegas thing falls apart, maybe Fisher sells. And a Nashville group buys the team and relocates them. And then Vegas becomes an expansion. I think somehow, some way, Vegas ends up with a team. Maybe it's not the A's though, but I mean, we're at a point where it could go either way. I feel like somehow, some way it happens, but I'm not standing on solid ground with that guess.
Yeah, Jim, I don't know if you had a chance to get over to Buffalo when the Jays were in there, and I did. And granted, I loved it. It was super weird. I just got to say, it was just, I'm like, really? Yeah. This doesn't, I know it didn't feel like a major league ballpark. I'm telling myself, this is a major league game. This is really happening. But we all understood that was out of necessity. Sacramento, what's happening, these situations, not exactly out of necessity. How embarrassing is this going to be for Major League Baseball? They have not one but two teams playing in minor league parks.
Yeah, I mean the Tampa one is the unfortunate situation because of the weather, the hurricane. The Oakland situation, the Sacramento situation is something that could have been avoided, but we have some owners in baseball that like to, I guess, fly to or march to the beat of their own drum, and Fisher's one of those.
What's coming up on the YouTube channel at Ballcap that we could check out, Jim?
We are in full-on season prediction, season preview mode right now, and once the season gets started, I'm going to have some content with some other YouTube content creators and podcast hosts. Ryan Ripken is going to start to make a regular appearance on the channel. He has the Ryan Ripken podcast. Doug McCain from Dodgers Nation is going to start making regular appearances throughout the season to keep everybody, up to speed and in line with all of the storylines and everything going on in baseball. So it's going to be a fun year, and we're getting ready for it.
Yeah, just remember, Danger said 157-5.
Yes, got it. Yeah. I'll keep an eye out for that Miami game.
That's the one that's going to happen. Jim, appreciate the time as always, man. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, guys. You too.
Jim Riley, Ballcap Sports, our guest, talking some MLB here in the middle of March Madness. Yeah, that's next week. Next week is when it feels like, okay,
yes,
now spring is here.
Right. That, if we had to say best days on the calendar, people would say, oh my gosh, yesterday,
day one of the tournament.
But when you get Major League Baseball opening day, and they're going to stagger the games. You have the Yankees, by the way. They're going to open at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay.
So we'll be giving Yankee updates during the show. But then you have the Sweet 16 on top of that?
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. And I think also when you just when you start to see baseball with regularity, it's like, okay, we made it. We made it. It's, spring training is over. I know, was it yesterday was the official first day of spring? And I know, you wake up this morning this does not feel like the first day of spring.
No, but, if you have the blue skies and the sun out, it felt fine.
A little bit better.
Yeah. Boy, the ACC. Yes, Duke is won, but or they're going to win. You have North Carolina down by 18 to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Late in the first.
That would leave just Duke, right? That would be the lone ACC team.
That would be it. So if you're the Big East, oh, yeah, do you guys want to merge with us? We're the better basketball conference.
Right. That's right. We'll give you updates on all the scores here with Gino's update. We'll take a break. We'll come back. It's happy hour next on the Fan Rochester. We'll get to a round of shots. We have time for your calls at 866-4FAN. If you want to pull up a stool and join us, let's give away free tickets now to see the Black Keys. They're coming to CMAC on Saturday, August 30th. This all courtesy of the Bowery Presents. Tickets went on sale this morning starting at 10 a.m. You can get yours at Ticketmaster.com, or you can win them for free right now if you call 5 at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326.
You're listening to Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Amherst begin a 3-game and 3-day stretch here tonight at home against the Charlotte Checkers. Don Stevens, Andrew Mossbrooks will have their call beginning at 7. On the NCAA scoreboard, we do have one upset today. A 12-5 once again. Colorado State knocking off number 5 Memphis 78-70. Other finals: Baylor over Mississippi State 75-72. Iowa State over Lipscomb 82-55. Alabama getting by Robert Morris 90-81. Games that are in progress: Duke getting ready to advance. They're late in the second, 84-46. They're up on Mount St. Mary's. Vanderbilt leading St. Mary's. They're in the second. Vandy up by 12, 39-27. And it's North Carolina in a little bit of trouble. They're down to Ole Miss at the half, 44-26. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
By the way, I don't need to belabor this too much. I know you're all watching college basketball. Men's March Madness is back on the court for day 2.
The Women's March Madness.
Hey, who do you have going all the way?
Who do you have going all the way?
We've got our Final Four predictions.
And I always like to remind fans, it's short for fanatic. We get irrational when it comes to these things.
First of all, fans are stupid.
Mike Danger.
Gino. Some people do actually still have the paper bracket, and for those of you who still have a perfect bracket, congratulations. But you're likely to win the lottery several times over before we ever see a perfect March Madness bracket.
Gene Battaglia.
Nobody cares about my bracket, but for what it's worth, you took Duke. I took Florida.
I talked to Jalen. He actually gave me his NBA password. I can watch any game I want at any time.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Oh, man. Is there any more than a buzzkill than realizing you don't have the channel that you want to watch? The game is on. And
See, when terrible Take Timmy fills in for you, he's got a take here. We have the poor people's cable. It is the most basic of basic. We might as well just stick an antenna out.
I mean, I'm all for saving a buck, and
not that we need to watch the tournament doing a show or anything.
Oh,
would help.
Right. Yeah, that would be nice. Basic as basic can be. Okay. Well, I just got frustrated because North Carolina they're laying down. Ole Miss is rolling them. They're at the half. I just want to see some action. That's all. I'm like looking around and seeing like where's the best game, and the best game right now from a competitive standpoint happens to be on a channel that we can't pick up here in the studio. A little upset about that.
24.3 million over. 24.3 million entered the ESPN brackets, Challen. Down to the number for a perfect bracket still remaining out of that 24.3 million, 5,572.
I love that they do that. I love that they tease us every year. That's their thing. They love to count it down and be like, oh, well, we'll never see a perfect bracket ever in our lifetime.
No.
Even with all the AI, even with all the supercomputers, even with all the calculations, even with your attempts at multiple. No, it's you're more likely to win the lottery multiple times over than you are to see a perfect bracket, but they love to throw that in our face. You guys tried your best. It ain't happening. It ain't ever happening. And we had another 12-5 upset this afternoon. So we had one yesterday, and we had one this afternoon as well. That 12-5 still feels solid as a rock. You can always count on a 12-5 upset.
Every year. And this year we have 2 of them. So, boy, a lot of fun. Tonight we get Kentucky going up against Troy, and I just heard the update. I'm from BetMGM. Like, yep, that was PJ's take too. Troy, a lot of people picking them.
Troy with the points?
Yeah, Troy with the points. Some people taking them as a 14 over a 3, saying history will repeat itself for Kentucky.
Yeah, Kentucky an early exit last year. Massive disappointment. Well, it's been a fun afternoon so far with Jim Riley, Ballcap Sports, joining us last hour to preview the 2025 MLB season. Don Stevens, the voice of the Rochester Americans, who stopped by in the 3 o'clock hour. You'll be hearing his voice a lot on the Fan this weekend with 3 Rochester American games, all here on your proud home of Amherst hockey tonight, tomorrow, and, of course, Sunday afternoon for Bills Day at Blue Cross Arena. The Checkers, Charlotte, the opponent tonight at Blue Cross Arena.
So Albert Breer reporting that Aaron Rodgers met with head coach Mike Tomlin, offensive coordinator Arthur Smith, and the GM Omar Khan. And the sides will keep in touch. And there was no expectation that a deal would be consummated today, contradicting a report from Diane Rossini that said, don't be surprised if a deal gets done today because he's meeting with the Steelers. Danger, this is just step number one. For a guy that loves himself in the news cycle, congratulations to Aaron Rodgers for winning the NFL news cycle today.
I feel like it was last year at this time, around this time, where they spent 6 hours with Russell Wilson, too. This is the getting to know you period. This is, hey, we've had this framework of a deal in front of you for a while. If you want to sign it, it's there. But let's get to know each other a little bit here. And if Rodgers is doing that, I have a feeling today was less about the money that he'd make and more about the, hey, can I get away with doing this? This is kind of what I want to do this offseason. Can I miss most of OTAs? What part of training camp do you really need me there for?
Do you think there's any recruiting going on? I mean, we know one Steeler veteran is like, whatever, Cam Hayward, basically. That was his message. Either you want to be here or you don't. But normally, like your Josh Allen, I think, probably is involved with, hey, Josh Palmer, come on over here, or whoever it may be. Is there any Steeler player, any veteran?
Tomlin.
That's it.
That's it. It's Tomlin. That's got to be it. I mean, if you're Aaron Rodgers, you impressed by Arthur Smith? Arthur Smith? Okay. I mean, maybe that's what
you're looking down on Arthur Smith.
Maybe today was about making sure that those two aren't oil and water, because they feel like oil and water to me. Feels like that's a disaster waiting to happen, but you get them together in a room today, and maybe for those 6 hours you see some common ground, and you realize if you're Aaron Rodgers, oh yeah, I can work with this guy, or I ain't working with this guy. I got to go somewhere else, or I got to retire because this ain't happening. But yeah, I didn't expect a deal to come to fruition. Maybe, I mean, I guess I could see maybe by the end of the weekend there's something if they continue to talk here and they want to get something done before the calendar flips to April and they really have to set their sights on the NFL draft. And even then, if you want to believe that the Steelers are in play for Jalen Milroe, I'd listen to that. I would not listen to Aaron Rodgers being a mentor for a guy like Jalen Milroe. I would not listen to that. But I would listen to, they like Jalen Milroe, they'll draft Jalen Milroe. Aaron Rodgers starts this year, and then the keys get handed over to Milroe in year 2 or year 3. Yeah, I would listen to that.
I would just ask any Steeler fan, anybody who wants to join in at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. I thought the objective was to win the Super Bowl. What in his play since the year 2019? Okay, part of 2020 was good. Let's go just since 2020. Last 5 years. What makes you think that all of a sudden it was bad coaching or whatever the circumstances that Aaron Rodgers is going to raise his level of play to an MVP level? Don't laugh. That's what needs to happen in the AFC. Look at the quarterbacks you're going against in that division alone.
It's not enough sometimes.
Okay, I'll give him, he's the third best quarterback in that division. He's going to outduel Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson? Good luck with that. Oh, okay, you get out of the division, great. Here's Josh Allen for you, and then you do that, Patrick Mahomes. You are wasting time if you're the Steelers. You're wasting time.
They have no option, Gino. They have no option. What's their option? Mason Rudolph? I mean, who gives you the best chance to win games?
Roll the dice, Jalen Milroe.
Right.
Start all over again.
Well,
you have to find your next guy.
I think you can win now and in the future if you have Rodgers on your roster. You can win 8, maybe 9 games. And Milroe can be there if they end up drafting him. And maybe you've got something that you didn't have a couple of years ago, which is a first-round quarterback that actually pans out. And yet, I think you thrust Pickett in there probably prematurely before he was really ready to go, before they wanted him to go.
I think Pickett was the, oh, my gosh, we made this mistake with Dan Marino. We're not going to make this mistake again. No, you shouldn't have drafted him.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And this is also another year where the quarterback class is viewed as a down year. So if Milroe's the guy you want, you see the athleticism and you believe in that guy. If you're Mike Tomlin, sure, go ahead. But I don't think you're winning games with him as a rookie. And so enter Rodgers for a year, maybe 2, and you have at least somebody who's competent.
This is Tom Pelissero in the last hour. The Steelers and Aaron Rodgers have had contact parameters in place for weeks. And money wasn't a discussion point during today's visit. It was a chance for both sides to get to know each other. The Giants also remain involved. The decision is in Rodgers' hands.
I feel like the Giants are Shedeur Sanders or bust, and that's it. Like, the Giants are more than comfortable with drafting Shedeur Sanders and riding out that player as a rookie and trying to save their hides. It could be bad for the Giants. It could be bad for Shedeur.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen this movie too many times where you draft the quarterback and then in year 2, new head coach, new system, new GM, new everything. How does that work out?
Maybe. I respect the work of Warren Sharp, and he's got an interesting mock where he actually has, it's not Shedeur Sanders. It's going to be Travis Hunter going to the Giants, but then the Giants trading back in the end of the first round to take Jackson Dart, which none of these quarterbacks should get you excited in this draft.
Well, is there anybody that starts year 1? Like, could you see Cam Ward starting year 1? I probably could see Cam Ward
out
of necessity starting year 1.
And
right?
that would be a mistake.
Well,
maybe.
if Tennessee drafts him and he competes with Will Levis and he wins that competition, at least you could say, hey, it was a competition and he won out. But if Shedeur Sanders is starting week 1, do you have confidence that week 1 Shedeur Sanders is going to win you games? If you're the Giants, I don't. Jackson Dart, if you're the Giants, I don't. And I don't have confidence that Cam Ward would win games for Tennessee if he were to win a competition with Will Levis. So I just don't know that any of these guys this year are primed to come in year 1, like we saw last year with Jaden Daniels, like we saw last year with Caleb Williams. I mean, it's intoxicating to think that your rookie quarterback can come in and contribute right away. It just doesn't happen with great regularity to any degree of success.
866-4FAN, 866-4326. You're always welcome to join us and pull up a stool, as we say. John in Rochester. What's up, John?
Hey, guys. I agree with Mike. You got to get Rodgers in Pittsburgh. They're ready to go. And I think Rodgers, in his last game last year, he looked damn good. I think he beat Atlanta. I can't remember what team it was, but he looked really good. I wanted to talk about, you had a guest on talking about Ohtani taking Babe Ruth's place, and I'm like, wow, I can't see that at all. What do you guys think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're witnessing greatness.
Yeah, I don't think he's taken the place, but just if you're making the comparison, and granted, Babe Ruth passed away long before Danger and I were even here, and yet there's still a candy. But John, thanks for the call. It's an interesting point. Like, this is how good this guy is. Like, when Michael Jordan passes, he'll be in that regard, and probably LeBron, Wayne Gretzky. Ohtani is one of those rare ones.
Yeah, he's the guy that's going to sell out every game that he goes to. It doesn't matter how bad your team is. People are going to want to see him play in some way, shape, or form. He's going to go down, I think, is the best ever. If he continues on the path that he's on, the trajectory that he's on, doing what he's doing. We haven't seen this in our lifetime. So I agree with Jim Riley that this is special. This is something that we should all kind of like perk up and pay attention to, even though he plays for a team that a lot of us are going to consider to be the villains. It's hard to root against Shohei Ohtani. I can't root against greatness. That guy is great. He is going to go down as the best player of our lifetime.
I had some concerns heading in with the shoulder, and he's playing with a bum shoulder in the World Series. I thought he might have dislocated him. Like, boy, we saw Cody Bellinger's career go off track with that similar injury. Okay, you launch a home run in Tokyo there. Don't worry about that whatsoever. He's fine.
Yeah, he's going to be fine. And what a time to be a fan. If you like greatness, if you want to see that, I mean, think about what Riley said. We got to see Tom Brady win all those Super Bowls in our lifetime. We got to see Jordan do what he did in our lifetime, and now we get to watch Shohei Ohtani do what he's doing. It's pretty remarkable.
And for baseball, it actually is a great thing to have a team that's divisive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you want a villain.
Yeah.
You want to hate that team for their payroll.
I don't hate Shohei. I don't hate Dave Roberts, but I hate the whole concept, so I'm not going to cheer for him.
Don't want the Dodgers to win.
They're look, I mean, I'm the national. You are too, okay? I'm not rooting though for the Braves, the Phillies, okay, against the Dodgers, okay? The Dodgers aren't my most hated team, but for most people, yeah, you're not pulling for the Dodgers unless you're a fan of them.
The other bit of NFL news, and it's not much. I mean, look, the tournament is going on. The NFL knows to take a back seat, and that most of what they have going on is really going to start percolating here again with the owners' meetings. But Brandon Cooks will go back to the team that drafted him and started his pro career. He'll be catching Derek Carr passes in New Orleans with the Saints. And former Commanders and Panthers head coach Ron Rivera officially hired to be the GM of the football program at Cal, where he went to college. So Cal football has a new face. It is Ron Rivera. He'll be the guy responsible for collecting that NIL money and distributing it as he sees fit.
It's probably just I'm here to show. I'm here, Mr. Cal alum. We graduated around the same time, and we need your help today. I know you're running this Fortune 5 company here in the Silicon Valley, and please write a check.
That's right.
Like Syracuse football, do they have like an ambassador like that? That can go and just say, "Here I am, sign a check."
Who would it be? Donovan McNabb?
Yeah, that would be a great pull.
What about the basketball team? You think Jim Boeheim in retirement would consider being the face of recruitment NIL?
He still has that mysterious senior advisor. He's still on the. I'm sure he shows up.
Did they make it? Did they officially announce? I sleep at the wheel with Syracuse basketball, but do they have a GM?
Oh yeah, they've
basketball?
had a GM. I have to look his name up. He's a younger guy, though.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but my take on Syracuse basketball is this: Danger. They get one more year. That's it. They're not firing Autry, okay? But in this day and age, NC State, hey, you made the Final Four. Next year you don't. You're fired. It's like second missing the tournament. You're fired.
Yeah, that's there should be a higher standard, but it is the wild, wild west, and the teams that are collecting the most. And look at the ACC, man. I mean, like we were just talking about. UNC is down big
there
to
goes,
the SEC's Ole Miss.
There goes my theory, Danger. Like, okay, here's North Carolina. They're the team that actually is pretty good. Hey, they almost took out Duke in the tournament, and they're going to show everybody why they belong. And the idea that you're going to get to Saturday, check that, Friday night of the opening tournament, and you're down to one ACC team?
Yeah.
Danger, this used to be the conference.
Yep.
This should be just an alarm going off there. Wow. If you're the Big East, now all of a sudden leverage goes your way. The talks about an ACC Big East merger. Oh, please, please, please. Let that happen. Let Syracuse play a true Big East schedule, and you have kind of a Big East and an ACC, and then you make 16 teams a Big East tournament in Manhattan. Done.
Be great.
Wouldn't we be all in on that?
I think we would sign up for that, yeah.
What would be the TV revenue off of that? Honestly, that's what the sport needs to happen.
You've got St. Mary's up 2 right now, the 7 seed up 2 on Vandy, 47-45. That's with just over 6 minutes to go in the second half.
All right, I'm sweating that one a little bit. That's my Sweet 16 kind of darling thanks to Pete.
St. Mary, yeah.
St. Mary's,
yeah. I like St. Mary's, and I think they hold on to win that game. We'll see here as they approach 6 minutes. That was the game I wanted to find. That's the game I was looking for. I couldn't find it because we have, poverty cable.
No, it's Maryland leading the diploma mill 26-13. Like, what was the school out in there? I'm not talking about Grand Canyon. The University of Phoenix.
University of Phoenix?
Yeah, no, this
they don't have a basketball team, do they? They just like to print out diplomas?
They print out. The same thing with Grand Canyon.
Uh-huh.
Like somebody all of a sudden said, hey, you know what? We actually probably should have like a brick and mortar campus. Okay, let's have a basketball team.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Maryland up 27-13 on Grand Canyon.
It's never too late, buddy.
So, you want me to go back to school?
I'm Mike Danger for the University of Phoenix.
Oh, yeah. I wish I had the time. I really do. I wish I had the time to sit down and further educate myself, advance my education, get that diploma that's been missing from my entire adult life just to be able to say, I graduated college. I don't know that it's going to happen for me. Maybe I'll just go.
It's never too late.
Maybe I'll just go play Candy Crush instead. I'm Mike Danger for Candy Crush. Here you go. Yeah. Play Candy Crush on your phone for 4 hours a day and not even know what happened at the time. Yeah, maybe I could make time for that. I don't know that I could make time for furthering my education, Gino. What are you talking about? We got to get to a round of shots next on the Fan Rochester.
Yeah, that we do. We worried about Connor McDavid? I don't know. We don't have a lot of details. I'll tell you what we do know at this point. We'll get you caught up on the tournament as well, all those scores. In a season full of embarrassing moments for the Buffalo Sabres, and probably you weren't watching last night, but boy, do we have one for the ages, all that. And, of course, who is the most thirsty person, not only in sports, but maybe on the planet today? We've got the May-December update here.
Okay.
March, December. I don't know.
Okay. We'll get into that. We'll get into more with a round of shots. Last call is on the way at 866-4FAN. If you want to have the final word in the sports bar, we're here for it. 585-866-4326.
Taking on the Charlotte Checkers, first of 3 games in 3 days. The team in Syracuse tomorrow, then the Bills Day game coming up on Sunday. Don Stevens, Andrew Mossbrooks will have your call tonight beginning at 7 here on the Sports Leader. Biggest upset today in college basketball had a 5 losing to a 12. Colorado State over Memphis 78-70. Duke is gone final. No problems in Mount St. Mary's 93-49 the final. Alabama a little closer against Robert Morris 90-81. Iowa State over Lipscomb. Baylor knocking off Mississippi State. Games that are in progress. You have Maryland up big on Grand Canyon 39-22. They're in the first. North Carolina in some trouble. They're down 50-30. That's in the second. St. Mary's up by 3 late to Vanderbilt. Gene Battaglia of the Fan, Rochester.
From the field to the court to the rink, the Sports Leader is there. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Happy Hour continues on The Fan. Thanks for joining us in the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia, our YouTube channel up and streaming. The Fan Rochester, our channel on YouTube, also on Twitch. I'm Danger, that's Battaglia. Before we get to shots, Gino, I need a verdict on this. Is this an evictable offense? Because I've been battling, you can maybe tell, that I've been congested for the better part of a couple of weeks now. And the congestion comes from just the change in temperature and the season's changing. And really, like going to Florida for a week.
Did somebody steal your box of tissues again?
Nobody stole my box of tissues. But I need to know if this is an evictable offense. Because I woke up this morning and I was feeling better yesterday. Woke up this morning, I'm like, damn it, I'm congested again. Didn't sleep well last night. I go down, I look at the thermostat. It's 60 degrees in my house.
Okay.
Why is it 60 degrees in my house? Because we had a couple of nice days, and my daughter decided, you know what, I'm going to turn the air on in the house.
Whoa.
It's March.
Whoa.
It was nice.
Whoa.
We never got to the point of the house where it's uncomfortable. The sun is shining in. We had a couple of nice days, right? The air is on in the house.
Open up a window.
It's 60 right. It's 60 degrees this morning when I wake up because the heat was off. Nobody turned the heat on in the house because it was set to the AC. I didn't say anything to her because she was asleep when I left this morning. Is this an evictable offense? I'm ready to evict my daughter. Go out. You're on your own. Good luck out there, kid. The air does not turn on in the month of March, therefore making the rest of the house, contract pneumonia because none of us got a good night's sleep.
No, but it should come with kind of a warning. It's like the
this
yellow
is not
card,
the first. This is not the first offense, by the way. I mean, this is my wife. To her credit, is more into this than I am. Like, if I get involved, it could get really, really ugly.
Okay, so you're asking me for my opinion. It would just be house rule. No touchy, the thermostat.
We've had that discussion has happened. It's still not enough.
Wow.
Yeah. No, the balls. I mean, like the absolute audacity for somebody who doesn't pay. I mean, that we might have to have her pay the RG&E bill again. We went through that already. Oh, you want to mess with the thermostat? The RG&E bill is yours. Good luck with that. I think that lasted a couple of months. We might have to go back to that again because today, all I'm doing is I feel congested, I feel clogged up, and it's all because I slept in an igloo last night.
Well,
because the air was on in my house.
Thank goodness you have your new windows from Window Nation, Danger. That way you can, it's not as bad as it could have been before.
Yes, absolutely right. Let's get to shots.
NCAA Selection Committee always gets a little kitschy, right, with these matchups, but I'm not complaining about this one. Neither should you. 2:40 tomorrow afternoon, second round. The matchup between the second-seeded Red Storm of St. John's and the 10th-seeded Razorbacks of Arkansas. Rick Pitino against John Calipari. St. John's listed as a 7.5-point favorite. Believe it or not, this is going to be the 5th time these coaches have gone head-to-head in the tournament. The first time back in 1992. That was at the tournament I was at, Danger. Most recently, the Sweet 16 in 2014.
Wow, so it's been a minute, 2014. This is what I love still about college basketball is that you still have some guys like Pitino, like Calipari, that draw the attention of fans. Like, it really does become about the rivalry between these two legendary coaches, and there's fewer and fewer of them, obviously, with all the retirements that we've had in the last few years, and a lot of coaches just getting out because of the way the game has changed. But you've got Calipari, you've got Pitino, you've still got Izzo, right? I mean, like, there's a handful of coaches I think Hurley has kind of risen to that now. Like
Hurley, without a doubt. We like Nate Oates at Alabama. There are a few in Gonzaga hanging around.
What do you do if you're Bill Self, preseason number 1, and you don't advance past the first round?
That was surprising. I thought, okay, this will be the year that Kansas actually kind of rises up, and I missed on that one, going out as a 7.
It's another guy who has been through it all and has been around for a while, has won it all.
But like you said with Syracuse, the hope is, okay, it's a new team every single year in this sport.
Expectations are always
like
high.
Continuity is going to be a very difficult thing. After Drake beat Missouri, 99.9% of the brackets on Yahoo were eliminated last night from the possibility of having a perfect bracket. Danger, I haven't done the math here, but as we mentioned earlier, 24.3 million, over 24.3 million brackets on ESPN. Perfect brackets remaining, 5,572.
So I think what we need is we just need more people filling out brackets so that we can get that perfect bracket. That's what ESPN is selling you here, right? We only had 24+ million people fill out brackets this year, or 24+ million brackets filled out. We need more brackets filled out to try and increase those odds of getting the elusive perfect bracket, which will never happen. Never happen. But keep selling us that, ESPN. I'm sure there's a few people that are good for at least a couple dozen brackets when it's all said and done.
What's your favorite moment from the Sabres season so far? Let's take a minute here because you got some nominees. Is it the time where the GM talked about high taxes in New York and no palm trees as excuses why he couldn't do his job? Maybe it was the game against New Jersey where Tage Thompson gets laid out on a dirty hit and there's no response. Or maybe it was Matt last night, down 3-2 late. Okay, let's go. You got a chance here to tie this one up late against Utah. Time to pull the goalie. Buffalo has it in the Utah zone. A delayed penalty. Arm going up in the air. Perfect.
Here's the call. Let's just listen to the call because you can hear Razor's no dummy. He played the game. He knows. Like
it's foreshadowing. He knows what's going on.
Give him the puck. Give him the puck. Give him the puck. Sabres throw it away, and this is going to maybe go into the net, off the boards. Oh, my goodness, it did. Give him the puck.
You hear Razor screaming, give them the puck, because there's a delayed penalty. Just give up the puck and let Utah touch it up.
Yes. Let them touch it, and you get a defender off the ice. You get a chance to set your offense. You want to have the power play, and then you have the extra attacker on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
The hockey IQ, so dumb. But here's the thing about that play, Danger. Was it Jacob Bryson? Was it Rosane? Was it and Rosane's here, mind you. Was it a kid? Was it somebody up
Young or somebody, on the bottom of the roster?
No. That was Tage Thompson not paying any attention to where he's passing, or maybe it wasn't Thompson. Maybe it was Rasmus Dahlin not getting to where he was supposed to be. Either way, that was just a terrible pass between your two best players, supposedly. Rasmus Dahlin going back, and he breaks his stick in frustration.
I watched the replay probably like a dozen times, and after maybe like a half dozen times, I'm like, this is too painful. I need to juice it up a little bit. So I went with this.
Give him the puck. Sabres throw it away, and this is going to maybe go into the net, off the boards. Oh, my goodness, it did. Give him the puck. Give him the puck. Give him the puck. Sabres throw it away, and this is going to maybe go into the net, off the boards. Oh, my goodness, it did. Give him the puck.
Yeah, just the frustration from Razor. I mean, Razor knows what's up. And, I've been critical of Razor. Like, you could tell by the end of the season when they're out of it, like, he's kind of like checked out. Like, keys to the game, Razor. What do you got? Skate.
Score goals.
Score goals. Skate. You're like, okay, thanks. But, like, here, I'm like, Razor is great. That is awesome.
He's saying it before. You hear this terrible pass. You hear Dunleavy, like, what he wants to say, but he can just cut. But worst he can say is, oh, my goodness. And then Razor at the end, give them the puck.
He's lost it. He's completely frustrated. I mean, they're employees. What can you say, man? I was out with palm trees and taxes, but this is an unserious franchise. This is an unserious franchise, and the play on the ice reflects it. Even when they look like they're, hey, a couple of nice wins, and hey, we're really coming together. And no, you're not. No, you're not. It's a clown show. It's an unserious franchise.
We've been so busy here that The Athletic did their rankings, worst owner. The worst owner in football, and this was a different poll, that was the Jets owner. Terry Pegula, the worst owner in the NHL, according to the Players' Survey.
How can you say he's not? What has he done with this organization since owning it? Zero. All talk, no action.
Cheap.
Wants to be heard. I need a guy who will listen to me. I need to be heard.
Here's the thing. It's great that you're winning with the Bills and you're making money. That's the dream scenario. The NHL? I'm sorry. You buy a team, and listen to anybody who wants to buy a team, it's a public trust. You can apply your own business principles, but in the end, you've got to serve the public in some sort of way. I'm sorry. It's not a normal business. You are buying a sports team, prepare to lose money. Instead of your super yacht, you're owning the Buffalo Sabres. Mr. Pegula, please sell the team. Please sell the team.
Buffalo plays Minnesota tomorrow at 2.
Connor McDavid underwent an MRI today. That's not great. The exact injury, the severity, they're not saying danger. All they're saying is it's lower body. McDavid
Not great, Bob.
Getting hit in the loss to Winnipeg last night, missing the third period and overtime. McDavid's already been ruled out for tomorrow's game against Seattle.
I think Draisaitl also out for tomorrow's game against Seattle as well. Hey, look, I might not be an Oilers guy, but, Connor McDavid is the best player in the world. And I want to see the best player in the world on the ice as much as possible. So let's get him back on the ice ASAP.
Can we go back to Game 7? Like, so much so, like, hey, guys, we need you. You're going to play the entire period. I mean, was there a line change in the third period for Edmonton?
Insane.
Yeah,
it was insane. And he gets the game-winning goal in the Four Nations, and it's like, why does he do that? Because he's the best player in the world. He is amazing, and another player that, when it's all said and done, we might look at him and be like, well, he's one of the best ever, if not the best ever. So let's get him on the ice. Let's hope he's healthy.
Follow up on the story, this from the world of sports cards, the 1-of-1 card, the rookie Paul Skeens. This was pulled by an 11-year-old, and, well, they put it up for auction, and it went for $1.1 million.
For a card.
Unreal. Skeens this year, by the way, in comparison, is going to make $875,000. So amazing. That one card is going to go. Skeens will be the opening pitcher for Pittsburgh. The Pirates opening the season Thursday at Miami.
So the person who spent $1.1 million on the 1-of-1 rookie Paul Skeens card believes that will increase in value and you will make that money back in your investment, or you're just a massive
collector. Showing things off. This is like whatever they call non-tangible, tokens.
Non-fungible token.
Thank you.
Yeah. The thing that I always am fascinated by, and it really, my eyes were open to it when I went to the sports collector show with my buddy last year, is how every player literally has their own economy attached to them. And you can see a Paul Skeens rookie card go for $1.1 million. What happens if Paul Skeens flames out? Paul Skeens isn't this great pitcher that we think he is. You're not paying $1.1 million if Paul Skeens doesn't live up to the hype.
If it were today, sounds strange, but I swear this is true. Steven Strasburg had that same sort of hype. When he came to the majors, like, wow, this is really different.
Yeah.
As curveball was falling right off the table, and then his elbow blew out.
It's a great analogy.
Yeah.
I was trying to think in my mind, like, who could I talk about that would mirror what we could be seeing here with Skeens? Strasburg's a good one.
Strasburg then, okay, he had a couple injuries, gets healthy, and then he leads the Nats to the World Series. He's the MVP of the World Series. Then he gets hurt again. He spends time in Rochester, and it's over.
Yeah.
So how much are the collectibles, the rookie card for Steven Strasburg? Because it's not the new hot thing. It's a fun period of time. If you're a Washington baseball fan, you probably love it. But
he's not going down as the best ever.
No,
he's not going down.
Not.
Yeah, that's my concern for the guy that spends $1.1 million on the rookie card. If you believe it's an investment that's going to pay off, then you're betting on Skeens. You're betting on Skeens to be more than what Strasburg was.
That's
certainly
why
during his career.
if I was sitting out in the outfield and I was lucky to catch a home run ball that set some sort of record, it's going up for auction.
Goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye. Because you know what will happen, Danger? Somebody will break that record.
You're also not a collector. Neither of us, I would say, are collectors, right?
I was when I was a kid.
Liked cards when I was a kid.
And then I got interested in girls.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
I kind of get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with
I
you.
wasn't one of those people. Like, a lot of people during the pandemic were like, all of a sudden opened up everything that
Yeah.
sort of way. I just never got around to
I
it.
remember I had a pretty decent card collection, football, baseball mostly. And I remember, we were moving and I think I just gave them to like a neighbor or somebody that's like, I'll take those. Yeah. And I just gave them away. I have no idea if I had anything of value. Maybe there was, but yeah, it was a phase. It was like a childhood phase. And, this is not to say anything negative to anybody who's an adult who collects, because it's a lot of fun. It's a great hobby. It's and it can be lucrative for a lot of people. But when I see 1.1 million for a rookie card, I hope for the sake of that guy that Skeens has an unbelievable Hall of Fame career.
Probably. I thought it'd be like worth more. Like I thought, because when Ricky Henderson passed, I have his rookie card, 1980. I want $200. Actually, 45. I see.
Oh.
Like, yeah, it's not. You really anything like from that era. There's too many of them. I guess you could go find them. I guess. Finally, I lost my page. Hold on one second. Yeah, it's bad when you're doing a live radio show. My card disappeared. I'm clicking around. I'm sorry about that. Well, I can tell you off the top of my head, Danger, that we have a development in the story between our favorite May-December relationship. So we had the pictures last week posted by one Jordan Hudson. Sidebar. She's 23 now? I thought she was 24.
She lost a year.
She's
not getting older. She's getting younger.
Yeah.
He's getting older. She's getting younger. Fantastic.
So Jordan Hudson at 23 with Bill Belichick. They post these pictures on the beach where Belichick he's on his back posting her and she's stretching out. Well, the follow-up to that was more pictures were posted. Check that. More video was posted last night by Jordan Hudson. The outtakes from that. Because to be flying through the air like you're doing some sort of trapeze move, obviously you can't nail it. With the caption, it's not Pilates, it's Pilates.
Oh, I see what she did there. Yeah. Very, very clever by Jordan Hudson. It's a little unsettling, right? These pictures and the amount of thirst. Whatever you do not Google Pilates pictures on the beach with Jordan Hudson. We'll take a break and come back. Last call is on the way at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326 if you want to have the final word in the sports bar.
You're listening to the Bar with Dane. Sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
All right, so it's set up now with St. Mary's beating Vanderbilt 7/10. St. Mary's, Alabama here on Sunday.
A little bit of a sweat there.
You have St. Mary's going to the Sweet 16.
I do,
So
yeah.
the upset against Alabama is what we're rooting for on Sunday.
Yes, because no one cares when you're right other than me.
Yeah. All right, so that's a big win. And, while we have a second here, let's just run through some of today's scores, tournament action here, in case you're driving home and you're worried about the status of your bracket.
So just 2 games left in progress, and it's getting a little dark here for North Carolina. 9:16 remaining. Ole Miss is up 61-48. If the Tar Heels lose, that will leave just one team from the ACC left.
Duke.
That's it. Maryland, who used to be in the ACC, they're leading the Diploma Mill 42-28.
Grand Canyon.
Yeah. We have Duke winning big, 93-49. Other finals, Alabama, as you mentioned, they got by Robert Morris, 90-81.
Bobby Moe made it close. It wasn't.
Yeah.
They didn't get steamrolled, and if I'm not mistaken, Alabama did not cover in that one, right?
No. Iowa State did cover, 82-55. That was a 3/14 over Lipscomb. You mentioned St. Mary's, Baylor over Mississippi State, 75-72. So that's a 9/8. And the big upset, I guess.
Another 12.
Yeah, another 12. Colorado State, 78-70 over number 5 Memphis.
So tomorrow, the highlight is in the afternoon when you got Calipari against Patino. Of course, we're watching that game. Big odds here.
Now tonight, you'll be like, okay, just get me a cold one. I want to watch basketball. CBS has Kentucky-Troy, and this is one where a lot of people, including PJ Glass, are circling. Marquette is always fun. They take on New Mexico, 7:25. Arizona, Akron on True TV at 7:35 as well. And then the late games, you get UConn, Oklahoma. That's an 8-9 matchup. Xavier, they got in the play-in game. They take on Illinois. Michigan State is a 2 over Bryant. That game at 10 o'clock. Final game here of the first round. Another 5-12 matchup. Liberty against Oregon. 10-10 on True TV.
All right, I think Oregon advances. I think we've hit our quota of 12 seeds advancing into the round of 32. So that's the action coming up tonight. And, of course, we'll be back on Monday to recap all of the weekend action and talk about the Sweet 16 that are remaining once we get through the round of 32.
Hey, if you're a fantasy baseball player, you just love fantasy sports, Andy Behrens is coming back into the sports bar, 325. We'll talk some baseball coming up with Andy on Monday.
I'm looking forward to that. Love having Andy on with us here in the sports bar, not just during football season, but to talk a little fantasy baseball. And it isn't lost on me, the Yahoo fantasy baseball cheat sheet did cross my feed today. I looked it over. I'm like, oh.
You were
tempting.
You were thinking about coming into my league.
Tempting.
You want to go down to Blondie's,
Tempting.
don't you? Yeah.
Well, Blondie's. What, you think I want to hang out with you in a strip club in New York City?
It's not a strip club.
So you say. Fun show this afternoon with Jim Riley from Ballcap Sports. Last hour, the voice of the Rochester Americans, Don Stevens, who stopped by the sports bar during the 3 o'clock hour. Big weekend for the Amerks. 3 games in 3 days, and it starts tonight at Blue Cross Arena. Charlotte, the opponent, and Don will be by with Andrew Mossbrooks just after 7 o'clock with that call. 3 Amerks games, of course, Saturday night as well, and then Sunday afternoon from Blue Cross Arena for Bills Day with the Rochester Americans. If you missed those conversations with Jim Riley or Don Stevens, get them wherever you get your podcasts. Just search out the Sports Bar, and that includes the free-to-download Odyssey app, our home online. Big thanks to everybody who checked out the YouTube channel today at The Fan Rochester. Have a great weekend. JR Sport Brief next. And thanks for listening to the Sports Bar on The Fan Rochester.
You're listening to the